What's going on, everybody? This is AJ, your host of the Blue to Green podcast. In this video, we're going to sit down and talk with Erik Sanchez of the Masa Project AZ. The Masa Project AZ is a humanitarian nonprofit that assists with the homeless population in downtown Phoenix, the fentanyl crisis, as well as the border crisis. There's lots of crisis in this particular episode. I went down with him and saw the work that he was doing and the work that he is currently doing on a day-to-day basis to help change people's lives, get people clean, get people off the streets, and the resources that he is providing, him and his organization and his team of volunteers that they are providing. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Please do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. It helps me, it helps the channel, it helps exposure for people like the Masa Project. Thank you very much. Stay tuned.
All right, he threw some things out of the car, right there. He's throwing some things out the passenger side. They're along the wall, the slow lane wall. 619, he's throwing dope out the window. We got bills of marijuana coming out.
619, I copy bills of marijuana coming out of the window at 2328.
So before I start off this podcast with Erik, I want to show a little video of what life is like down at the Zone in Central Phoenix, as well as the work that Erik and his team of volunteers are doing. Let's go ahead and take a look at that right now.
Do you have other volunteers besides the one bringing food?
Today, it's just going to be a few of us. She has her kids with her as well. And then we have different spots set up around the valley, usually like different days of the week. This is one of the spots that we need volunteers at, and then that one along the roadway on 3rd Ave. That's another one that we need people to set up at. I have a volunteer setting up. She's going to start leading a table there on the 15th. Every Monday she'll be there, and then I'll be here every Monday. And on the weekends we'll be along the border fence.
Where's the border fence?
Lukeville, Arizona. That's where the crisis. Yeah. So we've been out there. We pop up along the smuggling routes, do first aid, hand out water. A lot of fun.
I mean, they get a lot of services in here.
Yes and no. It's like a shelter, but they have to let you out during the day. So they give you a place to sleep. Down that way, there's a place called the Andre House, and they serve food a couple times a day, but it's like drug addict central along the entire strip. So it's one of the spots that we kind of avoid and have them come to us. It's a very scary place sometimes, and there's kids that are under 15 over here. So that's another thing to just keep eyes on. If you do see kids, we'll always offer them a place to go. That's the best thing to do.
What are the services in this area for children?
So there's not very many.
Right. Unfortunately.
Right. That's the sad part. Cass does have, like Vista Colima, they have a family shelter.
Okay.
St. Vincent de Paul, they have different spots, and there's group homes for youth.
Gotcha.
The best place to go would be like a group home for youth or a foster family until they're able to get on their feet, just because, this is what they're living in.
Yeah.
And we got to show that these kids, they deserve love. They are loved.
Absolutely.
It just feels that you're not for a while. So.
What got you involved in doing this?
Well, I've been doing this, so I had cancer in 2019.
Okay.
And I decided to start feeding 20 homeless people in front of the court because I had nothing to do and I was getting a disability check.
Okay.
And I felt like I owed the government something because I was getting free money. And being autism, it's hard to, work a full-time job anyway. I became addicted to feeding people rather than addicted to the drugs, and it just blew up from there. Now we have about 274 staff. We donate about 56,000 meals a year.
Is the Masa Project entirely your project? Are you the creator of the?
I'm the founder.
Okay,
yes.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes, but we do have a board. We have lots
Gotcha.
of members.
You're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's the cool part, is being a nonprofit is everybody's a volunteer.
Yeah.
And they're showing up because they want to be
Yep.
here.
Very cool.
All right, let's go say hello.
Yeah, I'm just gonna walk with you.
Okay. Johanna should be here any minute.
Okay.
They just had to get more people.
I was looking for like a canopy. I wasn't sure.
Oh, I do have a tent in the back. I do have a tent. I just try not to set it up until we... Sorry about that.
I think it's cool if I just keep filming.
Yeah. Hey guys, good morning. We got some free water over there. We're gonna have chicken and dumplings. I'm telling you, we got chicken and dumplings in 20 minutes. You can take some cars. Everybody first aid, mark it. Where's it gonna be? Right there, next to my car.
Chicken and dumplings?
Yeah, 20 minutes, okay? Go ahead and line up over there. Morning, guy.
Aaron, how old are you?
I'm 60.
You ever done anything like this? No?
Yeah, we knew a couple of friends that
You walk in, went into the bedroom, it's all laid out.
I got a part of OD every other day.
Well, this quickly. Have you used it before?
No, yeah.
So Narcan is the opioid antagonist. It's gonna stop it from keeping the overdose going short time. So always call 911. You pop it in their nostril, wait 90 seconds, and then out breathing. Give them another dose, 2 doses in each box, and stretch it to the back. Okay? But every time you deploy that, make sure you call 911 again. Let me know when I come back.
All right, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
We're gonna have chicken dumplings right there in about 20 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Eric, can I see one of those packets?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Where did you get from?
Sorry about that. This bag is just bulkier than I thought.
What are those?
We have Narcan. We're gonna have food in about
Handing out Narcan down here.
Yay, thank you. What do you guys have?
chicken and dumplings.
Oh, snacks.
It's gonna be good.
20 minutes you said, or an hour?
In about 20 minutes, we're just waiting on her to show up. She's getting more stuff.
Hold the bag here. Do you want to
Look, if you hold this one, I'd be able to pass this out.
I can hold that. Thank you. Are you, do you have EMS training?
Yes.
Are you an EMT or anything?
So I actually did my basic EMT, and then I was gonna work for Maricopa Ambulance. It was interesting.
I got my, I was an EMT for several years. When I was still on law enforcement, I got my EMT and I loved every minute of it.
So another thing that I look for food is,
Okay, yeah.
we do find a lot down here. Good morning. And so they get food and stuff here sometimes.
Okay.
But not very much. Anything. They get to use their phones, charge them. They have a mail center, a dental center. So they get free dental care here too.
Gotcha.
Good morning, guys. We're gonna have chicken and dumplings and some peanut butter and J's over here at close out the battery. If anybody needs Narcan, we also have that. I actually may have some next week. We'll come back in the same spot, okay? And so on that side is the Human Services campus. And there is the shelter side. There's women's and family. And then on this side is the dentist's office. And then they have like a veterans affairs office.
No kidding. I didn't know that was here. Wow, interesting.
I was hooked on this way long ago. I've had a lot of kids in our family that have passed away from like fentanyl overdoses, especially recently.
Let's start from the beginning. And I just kind of jumped into this conversation with you, and I wanted to do that on purpose with you. I wanted you to just be comfortable and all that type of stuff. So first and foremost, your name is Erik.
It is.
Do you want to give your last name?
My name is Erik Sanchez.
Okay. You are the founder of an organization called the Masa Project.
Yes, sir.
Please tell me, because I'm going to be honest with you, I still do not fully comprehend everything that you guys do. So please tell us what you guys do.
The Masa Project of Arizona is a Chicano organization that I founded in 2019 when I was really ill. I started serving the homeless population by the City of Scottsdale Courthouse. There's a lady that works there. She does a lot of the human services. And one day I got asked to come into the office, and I was kind of worried. I thought they're going to ask me to stop doing this.
Okay.
Instead, they offered me all the vending machine food that they had in the city court building.
No kidding.
They told me I can come back anytime that they have anything before it expires, and they'll hand it to me.
Nice.
Yep. So they were having bags, and they would put for Erik Masa Project, and that was my introduction to the city. And through that go ahead.
What's the origin of the Masa Project name?
So the origin, we're Chicano.
Okay.
As kids, the only thing that brought us together was masa.
Okay.
Which masa is made from corn. It's a lifeblood in the Hispanic culture.
Is that the outer laying of a
tamale? Masa. You spread it. It brings everything together. It's nice, hot, and it's a blanket. It's a security blanket over your meat. So we become the security blanket over the people that are on the street.
I love it.
Rather than the meat inside of a tamale. And through that mission, we've brought people together through the entire state of Arizona. We've had volunteers from other states. We have an RN, a registered nurse. She's currently a prison guard here in Arizona, but she traveled from Pennsylvania started volunteering with us, and she's now been volunteering, leading groups, for the last almost a year now.
Nice.
And I mean, she's amazing. Yolanda Webb.
I was fortunate enough to follow you around on Monday, the January 8th, and met her.
Yes.
And I took video out there and all that. And I actually did I didn't know if we were going to be able to do the filming on Monday and then get you in this week. So I actually made a video. I'll show you it later, just as a clip of what we did. And then I want to lead into this podcast episode with the video that I took. And I just had a conversation with Yolanda, and she's an amazing human being.
Yes, sir.
And again, she works in corrections.
Every day almost.
Yeah.
She doesn't really have much time off or time to herself or family. She travels to the U.S. to make sure that she makes ends meet.
That's amazing.
She still donates half of her check every week.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that she went out of her own pocket and bought supplies for Monday.
Yes. So we're a small organization. We struggle. This year we haven't really received much funding-wise because we're publicly funded. I don't ask for government funding because I'd rather be able to direct that money where it needs to go, when it needs to go, rather than have to jump through a ton of loopholes, have to run a social security number. My volunteers don't need to know your social. All we need to know is, are you hungry? Have you eaten today? Do you need clothing?
So what is that stipulation that you're talking about? So if you get government grant funding, you have to get that person's...
There has to be some type of verification of identity.
Every single time you hand something out? So if you gave a person a bottle of water, you'd have to do that?
I still have to do that. Technically, we're still having to account for everything that goes in and out.
Okay.
And that's the hardest part
of owning a
nonprofit.
Understand that.
Or operating is inventory.
Okay.
Because we go out and we buy 800 water bottles. Like you saw, we had 500 that we handed out that day. We bought for that day, we handed about 270 bottles. And that was just working the street. That's either 2 bottles per person, 3 bottles per person. Either way, we're getting it out there. But we have to still account for every bottle that was just administered. And then we have to account for the parties that we've served. So we have to justify every bottle that goes out, why it was out, and then tell the city when, what, why, and where.
Okay.
And that's a difficult stipulation for a lot of people, especially for a nonprofit organization that's purely volunteer, because your volunteers aren't really going to want to keep that metric.
Right.
So you have to have certain eyes on that are dedicated to keeping metrics. And so that's been a challenge. But over the last year, we've served about 56,000 meals a year, which leads to about 29,000 clients a year.
That's incredible. So let's also continue on with exactly, I love the description of what the Masa Project is. What do you guys do?
So we administer harm reduction education to the street. And that entails teaching people how to use Narcan, why to use Narcan, how to stop it, or not necessarily how to stop an overdose, but how to intervene in an overdose and what to do, why to do it. How to do it. We teach continuous chest compressions because not everybody understands cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. So once we teach them how to use the Narcan, we ask them, do you know what to do next? Sometimes we're able to teach it out there on the street when I have an instructor with us. Her name is Rita Valenzuela.
Okay.
She owns a local CBD company.
Oh, nice. What company is that? Let's shout it out.
Valenzuela. It's let me see real quick.
Okay. We'll pause. I'll pause this little section out while you're looking. One, if you want to wear the headphones, you totally can.
Yes, I was going to ask you so I can hear what.
Yeah. Totally. Like I said, I just wanted to lead into the conversation to make you relax a little bit. Yeah, no, but because the intro was perfect. It's just as far as just a conversation and getting you to explain who you are. So, and please do not be offended at all if you see me doing what I'm doing right now.
No, you're good.
I'm a one-man operation, and I got to make sure these things are up and running and still taking video of you. Perfect.
And so Rita started in healthcare about 20 years ago. She worked with the compassionate care projects that she had started herself. And one day we had met her at an event, because we're pro-cannabis, we give out free cannabis products at, as they're available to the homeless population that we're taking
let me know.
away from any type of narcotics, or addiction.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I actually like to hear the conversation in my ears. All right. Let me know if you need the volume to go up or down. Hello, hello. Check, check.
It's good.
That's good.
All
Yeah, just let me know. I'll turn it up or down.
Okay.
And then you can also hear too. You'll hear. Do you see how I kind of sound a little bit far back?
Yes.
But then when it gets up nice and close, it's like, oh, there it is. It just makes a little bit of a difference. You can pull it towards you. Yeah, there you go. Take half a
I might
step.
need to get closer.
Yeah, there you go. But everything will sound fine. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, we're good. Continue, please. Okay, so Rita Valenzuela. Okay, so administered Narcan. Teach
Yes.
continuous chest compressions.
Continuous chest compressions or CPR on the street. And the reason that we do that is because we're going to give you a medication, you're going to utilize it, and then just stand there and watch somebody die because it may or may not have, been effective. I want to teach you to help get that blood circulating as the fire department's on route.
So I had a couple questions about that actually. Narcan used to be you had to have a prescription for it or you had to have a reason for it or whatever. And then now I think you can, don't correct me if I'm wrong, please, you can go to like a Walgreens or whatever and purchase it.
Most local pharmacies do have it that are major. They do have it. And I think it's still covered under Access and other insurances. You can receive it at a discounted rate, or organizations like ours distribute it for free.
And that is the one thing that really surprised me. One, that you had such a large amount of it. So that's awesome that you're able to get that however you get it. Two, I could not believe the number of, I'm going to say some things because I'm not politically correct, but I'm also not trying to be offensive. It's just the terms I use.
Sometimes we need to be honest to get shit out there.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
Yeah.
We got to get it there.
We just, the most direct path is, and I'm not trying to tiptoe on anything, but you can very obviously tell when somebody is a drug addict. You can very obviously tell when somebody is an active drug user. And the thing that was the most amazing to me was that there were very obviously active drug users that were walking up to you and saying, do you guys have Narcan? Do you guys have Narcan?
Yes.
And
they're telling you why they need it too.
Yep.
My friend just died last night.
Yep.
I need it for me today.
And I could not believe. So this was, I wish I would have released that video I made the other day before you came in. But again, I was working on it and I'm so glad that you're able to come in today.
Sorry, I got tears real quick.
I
we deal with a lot of death.
and that was the thing to me that was just the most amazing part of going out there with you is that these are obviously people who don't want to die. If they're also asking for the fact that they want Narcan, they obviously don't want to die.
But they can't stop.
And that right there is, I have family members right now who are affected by this absolutely grotesque drug, fentanyl. And again, for those who don't know, and I'm not like always like me, I was a police officer for over a decade. I did not police as I was a detective when the fentanyl crisis occurred. I live in a fairly nice town, so I'm not exposed to this stuff. So following you around on Monday and being abso-fucking-lutely encircled by this stuff had a very profound effect on me. And it was actually kind of like shocking.
What did you think about that lady that was literally holding her pill and her tutor as we're talking to her, asking her, and she said, hey, yeah, please, can I have Narcan? I need this because I might need it later today. Yeah. And she was probably one of the oldest female clients that we have out there.
You're talking about the woman in the wheelchair.
Yep, the white woman, the white female.
And she was able, I talked to her and I got it on video, so that'll be part of this as well. In the video, you will see her holding her fentanyl, the little aluminum freebase form.
And the pill on top.
And then when I asked her, and again, I was out in public, so I was allowed to video and film wherever I wanted. But when I was going to have a one-on-one interaction or conversation with somebody, I did ask them. And I asked her, hey, do you mind if I film? She says, no. And then she said, let me put that away. So then in the video, you'll see she talks about being out on the streets. And then she says, well, it's not like I do drugs or anything. And then 4 seconds later, she goes, well, that's not true. I like to smoke blues every once in a while. And I have never walked down a street and had it openly being smoked everywhere.
No matter where you look.
No matter where you looked.
You smell it, you see it, you feel it.
Yep.
You feel it on your skin when you leave.
I had a headache.
Yeah.
After we left. And there was, again, I don't want to create this image that it was like a whatever, but there was I saw probably 8 to 10 people in different parts down the road that were all covered up in their jacket. And that's actually, again, I was looking at that going, what is going on? Like the first time I saw it. And then all of a sudden I saw the girl, she brought her hand down and she set the little aluminum foil down from where they smoke it, where they freebase it and smoke it. And then I was like, oh. And then after I saw that, and it was shocking. It was shocking. It was shocking. It was literally shocking. I've never, ever experienced anything like that.
So we have police officers. You know, you're retired or former law enforcement.
Not retired,
I'm sorry, former.
Yes.
We have police officers that are current and active duty or military members, and they come out with their kids thinking, oh man, this is going to be great. We're going to see, you know, feeding the homeless.
Yeah.
We're going to really help the community. And then the first thing they're hit with is a big old cloud of fentanyl.
No.
Because of where we're working. And it's like, hey, I'm sorry, brother. You know, I'm sorry, sister. I know you didn't sign up for this, but at the same time, this is a reality.
This is what we've gone to. It went from being homeless on the streets.
Soup kitchens.
Yeah.
To now fentanyl sections of earth.
It was insane.
It's like scorched earth theory all over again, but the scorched earth is just encampments of people that are stuck on fentanyl. They have nowhere to go because they can't get services places because they're using fentanyl.
Yep.
So they're literally unable to use tents now. They're sleeping on dirt. They're told to go to 15th Avenue in Jackson.
Okay.
City set up a nice encampment there. It's still under construction. We weren't allowed to even take a look at it. We
Really?
tried recently. We tried to bring them clothing, Narcan, water, and supplies for Christmas. We were told we had to leave. However, through community partnerships, that connection is going to be working its way out.
Okay.
And so they'll get us involved there. We do understand it is under construction, so we're respectful of that. We had no idea. We were just told, hey, this is where it's at. Go check it out. Bring them supplies if you can.
Gotcha.
That's what we did.
So my question to you about this is, there are those who are going to say, stop feeding the homeless.
You're the problem.
You're the problem. You're enabling. And let me tell you something. 6 years ago, Detective AJ would have said that.
6 years ago, I would have said that.
Yeah.
I was taught to think that way.
Yes. And now it's like, no, that's not going to solve the problem. That's not going to help the problem.
It perpetuates one. Creates a further problem.
What's the balance?
The balance is getting services out there, pushing these people either off the street and into some type of supportive system, or getting people out there with the supportive system on the street hitting the beat. And that's what we do. And many people will tell you, that's too dangerous. You shouldn't do that. You guys are, you're helping these people by giving them a way to survive on drugs. But no, these people are seeing that there's a way out. There's hope. People like us, we have other addicts that are, in recovery or that have, been sober for 30 years. And they have the opportunity to talk to these people and say, hey, I was there.
Yeah.
I was right where you were. And you can stop. If you want to stop, I know it's going to be hard. But we're here and we can help you. There's a lot of assistance in Arizona. You just have to literally take these people, force them into it.
Yeah.
But the system will push them right back out.
Well, and you have to respect their rights to a certain point.
You can't force someone to not be an addict,
right?
But you can give them the entire support system you can offer possible. That doesn't mean they're going to comply,
right,
or enter a program. But what you can do is just return there with a warm, friendly smile and say, hey, we're part of this with you. Don't worry. I know you feel alone, but you're not anymore.
No.
We're going to keep coming back. And if you need us, here's our phone number. See, this t-shirt has our phone number on the front and back. You know who we are. These people will tell you, law enforcement, they see us out there. They're like, yeah, they're just doing their thing. Let them be.
That was what I also put in that little video too, was the fact that
people call 911 on us a lot.
Well, luckily when we were down there on Monday, the only interaction that we had with I saw Phoenix PD dropping somebody off to the shelter.
Yep.
And they saw you and they saw me and they actually waved.
Yes.
So they actually waved and it was no problem. They were, 15 yards away and just kind of waved and no big deal.
They care about people.
Yes. And then there was the other gentleman. There was a young rookie, Officer Davies. I talked to him for a minute.
When fire arrived.
Yeah, when the fire department arrived.
He's with the community team for downtown Phoenix.
And I had never heard of that. So I got to talking to him for a minute, and he was very sympathetic. He was very, and I asked him, I said, what do you guys do for arresting? And he said, go ahead.
I try to say they're not sympathetic. we're now empathetic.
Yes.
Because when you
Yes.
start to sympathize, you pity people, and you can't pity people. You need to understand that they are human beings making these active decisions to be there. However, we can give them extra options.
And I agree with everything you just said. And I also understand that drug is so powerful.
It
And
destroys the best of people.
now,
One hit, it'll stay in your system for up to 3 weeks? It's like meth. It'll stay in there for years.
Yeah.
And that's just thinking about that. People are putting this in their bodies. And us as normal people, we think, oh man, you can just stop. Oh man, you can. No, you can't.
no.
It becomes a lifestyle.
Well, let me follow down the Phoenix PD path, and then I'll go back into
Yes.
that. I said,
Sorry about that.
nope, dude,
my ADHD as
I'm
well.
there. I'm there.
Absolutely.
And it's entirely possible that we might have fulfilled our endocannabinoid system prior to this interview. So it helps. But on that note, though, the interaction with Phoenix PD, when the fire department showed up, and I didn't interact with the fire department. They were busy.
Yes.
They were helping out the woman.
I give them their space. They just ask us questions. We're very direct, very, professional, and we step back.
You are also. I'll stay on track.
Yes.
But you are also an EMT.
Trained as an EMT.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've got the training behind it.
All of us are trained.
Okay.
Either we're certified, trained, or we have some type of degree in medicine.
Gotcha.
And that's the people that administer any type of aid.
Gotcha. Okay. So interaction with Phoenix PD real quick went super. I was talking to him, and again, it was all about the empathy from him, and there was no negative ill will, but we were talking about I asked him specifically about like, dude, what do you guys do down here? Can you arrest? And he just looked at me and he didn't say yes or no. He just said, he said it's still a felony. Yeah. He says, and we can still arrest them if we see open whatever and this or that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, dude, just drive down that street. You'll get 12 arrests. But then there's also the police officer in me who's done the job that's like, it's not going to help.
They're going to come right back tomorrow.
They're going to come right back tomorrow.
With a felony, and now they owed money and can't even support themselves further.
So now they're on the run.
Yep.
So it perpetuates a cycle.
Yes. So, and then they look at law enforcement, they hate you.
Yes. And that's where I try to balance it in my head, where now being out for so long and having these types of experiences where I'm like going, look, I don't think full legalization is the answer to hard drugs, but criminalizing people because they are simply addicts isn't good either and doesn't help anybody. And it just keeps perpetuating the cycle. The felony, don't show up, warrant for their arrest, on the run, felony, another warrant, and it just keeps going over. And meanwhile, they're not getting clean.
They're losing friends and family.
If they're not already out on the streets and have lost everybody. So
you have marshals showing up
what do you
daily
do
for you.
What do you do? How do you
hide?
But
you die on the street.
But what do we do as far as a society?
As a society, we get out there and do the things like my groups do. Get to these people. We get to the people.
Yeah.
By physically getting on the street and saying, you know what, our safety may be at risk, but these people are dying. I'm not going to allow that happen as an American because this is within our borders. People should not be starving and dying on a daily basis just because they have an addiction problem.
Agreed.
There should be shelters for people that are addicted to these things. So I envision, this is kind of weird to get out, back on and off topic, but I envision having a facility that people can be admitted to for a minimum of 90 days to 6 months, regardless. And that means complete sobriety. That means it's going to be hell. But when you come back out to society, we'll assist you with getting housing. We'll get you some type of support system. You'll already have disability or some type of income coming in to assist you. But right now, society doesn't see it that way. They see it as it's a problem. And if it's not your problem, it's their problem. And if it's not their problem, it's everybody's
problem. So I always like to look at both sides. So what about the taxpayers that say, I am not paying for some drug addict?
So why are they paying for countries that aren't doing anything for the United States to receive tens of billions of dollars?
Hundreds of billions.
Hundreds, not even once a year, multiple times a year.
Yeah.
But the homeless system receives $9 million grants, $100 million grants.
So, okay, so let me ask you, and I am simply going off of things I see on the news. So I do not have anything about it. I've heard about the homeless population here in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Arizona as a whole, is very, very small.
Over 13,000.
Okay, that's actually much bigger than I thought. But then you look at like San Francisco and LA that are just explosive in their homelessness.
27 to 50,000.
I've heard it's like 100 to 150,000.
Literally, it can be in a city.
Yeah.
Depending where you go.
Yeah.
Sadly.
So,
welcome to California.
right. And they got 39 million people in and of itself.
Well, now they can't do anything about it because they turned it into their own problem for everyone, not them.
And they're in a $68 billion deficit.
Yep.
So
Nowhere to go.
my question is then the numbers I've seen, again, I don't have facts in front of me right now, but they've invested billions of dollars into the homeless problem in LA, and they continue to perpetuate it and make it worse. So, and again, I want to have a better society. I want every single one of those people down there to get back into society, get clean, and lead a fruitful, happy life and be productive.
And it's interesting you brought them up. I have a family member, Gil Saldate Padilla. He's actually been with California and trying to fight this homeless crisis in the Chicano side of this for many, many years, over 20 years. And he also has a podcast that they want to bring me onto at some point. But I feel that that's where I get a lot of my drive. Is it's in my blood to serve people. And to find out recently, that, hey, I'm not the only Chicano one in our family that's like, yo, we need to be the difference, not just be the change. We need to be the difference. And when I say being the change is, oh yeah, we're going to show you how to live. Well, instead of showing you, let's actually live with you and teach you. And that's being the difference. And so when I say that, we're getting people that are dying on the streets every day to start to think like regular humans again at some point. And that's one of the hardest things, is because they start to think in a pattern. It becomes a lifestyle. They think either you're going to bring them drugs, money, or you're a cop. And that's what we deal with on the street. I've been stabbed. It was a lady on Spice. And that was before the fentanyl crisis.
Spice was nasty
shit.
Ugh.
And that's insanity.
Worst fights I ever had in law enforcement were two different people, two different incidents on Spice. Worst drug I'd ever seen.
It's disgusting. And people will do anything for it, and it's a synthetic drug.
Yeah.
But I mean, most things are now. Fentanyl is a mixture of different things, and it's killing people that are just helping fight the epidemic.
And that's one of the things I wanted to discuss with you as well, is that regarding the fentanyl itself. Okay, we know what the supply chain is. The precursor chemicals are made in China. The precursor chemicals get shipped to the cartels. The cartels make the drugs. They smuggle the drugs into America.
You also have to remember that the healthcare system is still perpetuating some of that addiction.
The healthcare system started it. It is their fucking problem. They are the ones that overprescribed, knowing it. And again, there's multiple documentaries on this stuff.
It's like an antibiotic.
Now,
at some point, it's not going to help anymore.
Right.
Just like giving people all these Suboxone, all these different methadone treatments. It's pretty much doing the same thing, and then they stay in that cycle. They stay homeless. Bless you.
Thank you.
They stay homeless, getting higher than they did on heroin using Suboxone or methadone. Have you noticed that?
That is,
they're nodding out and dying just like that.
Yeah. And again, they start at a low level, and then it takes more, and it takes more, and it's an opioid.
Yeah. And they're just swapping one for the other. But remember, they also did that with speed for ADHD.
Yep.
Ritalin.
Yep.
Does anybody remember Ritalin?
How in the mid 90s, it was.
That's what they treated me with, and I was a zombie.
Yeah. Well, so I did learn something, and again, not a medical doctor. I did learn though that what the drug does is, somebody with ADHD
slows you down.
Well, so someone with ADHD, their brain's going a million miles an hour, but what it actually does is it brings your central nervous system up.
Yep. And you can focus really then.
So they align, but I'm sure that it could go a little too much, or however that dynamic works in the drugs in the brain, that I knew kids that were zombies.
I would just be like this.
Emotionless zombies.
Yep. My whole family, like I would go to my cousin's house on the weekends. It's like we're Hispanic, white, Arab. It's interesting, our concept. But I'd go to the white side. They'd be like, medicate, medicate, medicate.
The white side.
My Chicano side would be like, that kid's not coming here on meds.
Okay.
And if he is, we're not giving that kid anything while he's here.
Gotcha.
So then I would be all off balance, and I was having tantrums, and I didn't understand as a kiddo, having autism. I didn't even realize I was autistic until somebody told me later on in life. But I'd always had all these issues, and like nobody paid too much attention. They just thought, oh, he's just acting out because I'm very intelligent.
I do agree with that.
But I'll tell you right now, some autistic people happen to be some of the most brilliant people in the entire planet.
I'm the father of 2 special needs children. I have a high functioning son, and then I have a low functioning son. And having been around special needs people, the thing that I have learned is that the ones you were very high functioning, and I mean you are, and I wanted to talk to you about that.
I
as
just
well.
panic a lot.
Well, everybody has anxiety now, but it was, you're 100% correct, and I've learned that none of them are dumb, but you'll find like the ones that are hyper fixated on the one thing, and no matter what the one thing is, they are a god or goddess in that realm and can tell you everything about it. Mm-hmm. So I love my son to death, and he'll start talking to me about what he's really, really interested in. And after about 30 minutes, you're like, okay, son, I love you so much. I love you, but can we change the subject or whatever? But I love him to death.
I could go for days.
Yeah, right. And yeah, but that's, you're 100% correct on the fact that it is the pharmaceutical company's issue. It is 100%. They are the ones responsible for this.
They started it. They increased it, and then they tried to create other drugs to stop it.
Yep.
And those other drugs are now even worse of the bigger part of the problem. And they were trying to be the solution, but you can't give crack to a crackhead and tell him, hey, here, let's go ahead and wean you down every day while you're smoking this crack rock. But then we're going to give you a new form of crack, and you can use as much as you want.
Right.
And there's no issue. But the issue is these people are just like nodding out, or they're acting out like insanely. And then when everyone's looking at them like, oh, they were just trying to get off drugs and you guys gave them that. Look what you started.
Right.
So then people hate us again because there's like, it's a double-edged sword. No matter where you go, someone's going to have an opinion. You just have to keep fighting.
So what do you say to, we talked about it before, that when you are down doing what you're doing, there are businesses that call the police on you. So what do you think of why they're calling the police? And what do you think of that in general?
I understand it.
Okay.
Because I was, pro enforcement for many, many years, just like cannabis. I didn't use cannabis till I was sick, until I was very sick. And then someone said, have you tried your medical card since pain medications don't work? Well, had I tried, not going down and feeding these people, I probably wouldn't have understood the side that I have now. But the business owners are like, well, we don't want this to look like there's a bag of trash in front of our business. And that's what we see homeless as, that's what we're taught is homeless people are disgusting. They're nasty. They're, something that we shouldn't associate with. But many of them are families. Many of them are just people trying to get by because they have nothing. They have nowhere to go. They're not all addicts.
I don't believe anybody woke up and chose that path.
Exactly. Something serious or traumatic occurred for this breakdown. So why as a society are we going to penalize them and, further that punitive path by taking their situation and making it, into a crime? Which loitering, I understand, but when people are lining up to get food for 1 hour out of a day,
right,
get fucked. I mean, come on. People are coming to eat for 1 to 2 hours a day, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. People are coming out of their days to serve these people.
Right.
Why would you stop volunteerism and then you criminalize kindness?
I see both sides.
And well, see, I do too. But what I don't get is if this is going to clear them up after you feed them and they only come back 3 times a week to that spot, what is the deal? Like, we go along the canals and we're told, hey, you can't feed these people if they group here during the week. But if you talk to them and get them to, leave, They'll come back only this time. We'll protect you. That has been a very positive outcome for us.
So now there are those that are scared.
Yes.
They're scared. Attacks do happen.
Oh, every day.
Yes.
While we were there, people were attacking themselves and each other.
While we were there, this is, again, it's one of these things where why doesn't the police arrest them or blah, 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 blah. They're
coming right back.
Right. And also the thing was, though, is that it was now no longer emergent. It was no longer an emergency.
It's an everyday life now.
It's an everyday lifestyle. And again, even while we were down there, there is a security company there. I've already texted with them. I said I could mention them. Super good dudes. And they were aware of everything down there.
Yes.
They knew who everybody was. And I actually praised them. They were not rent-a-cops. Yes, they're a security company, but these guys were professional. Very, they did not have an attitude. I saw them walking around and basically patrolling.
Extremely compassionate.
Yeah, and none of them were dicks. All of them were fantastic and just like we're here and we'll take care of business if we need to, but we're not interfering. We're not
we
harassing.
Can't change your situation, but
Right.
we can better it and keep you safe.
Yeah, and they weren't harassing people to move or anything like that.
And like you saw me, I get very vocalized when someone starts doing fentanyl in front of our volunteers or in front of the shelter. I will tell them, get the fuck out of here. That is not acceptable. We don't need that exposure.
Right.
Please go across the street and get high over there. And if you need anything, you can come back and get help. But this is not the spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the city needs to create a compassionate use site. Yes and no. But if people are off the street, there's medical professionals available. If someone's overdosing, we can respond right away. And we can also offer intervention services there. Transport from there to some type of intervention clinic. But I do understand it would perpetuate a huge issue on both ends.
So this is...
But it's reduced a lot of issues.
There's for those who are unfamiliar with, there's a television show that was I think it was back in like 06, 07, 08 on HBO called The Wire. Did you ever see it?
Possibly. I'd have to see a clip.
It's by far the best cop show I've ever seen. It shows the intricacies. It shows the long investigations. It's not all bang, bang, shoot 'em up, chases and all that good stuff at all. Where I'm going with this is that it's in downtown Baltimore. Projects everywhere.
I've been there.
And just unfortunately, the forgotten people. They're doing the best that they can. And so this police captain, major, whatever he is, a district commander, has the bright idea to, in these small older towns, you got these beautiful little pockets of like brownstone homes and, mom and pop delis and shops and all that good stuff. And in the city was all infested. So in the television show, this commander had the bright idea that they would pick up the drug dealers and they would take them to this little project area. So all of the drug users started trickling into that area. And so in the show, they're doing what's called CompStat, which is actually a real thing. The briefing to the command staff about what's going on and crimes committed and reduction in this. And they said across the city, crime was dropping. And then that area was like the no-go zone. Cops don't go there and whatever. And then they finally caught on. They're like going, dude, you cannot do this. And then they had to release everybody back out and then crime shot up. Mm-hmm. And it is one of these things where, and I talk about that because it's a good example for people to go and watch that show. It's a great show. It's a little bit dated, but it's a great show and it talks about that. And I think about taxpayers now paying for an area that's going to be nothing but junkies and drug addicts and street people and this or that. But then you go down there and you meet them and like, oh, they're people that need services and help. Mm-hmm.
You turn it into a clinic.
And we can localize everybody into an area. They're not being held hostage there, but at the same time, it's like, how much government control do we want to give and take away people's rights and but also keep people safe, but then also keep them safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's complicated.
And see, my vision would be to have a clinic set up, with individualized services. People come in, they can only use, but they have to go. And to use, they would get transportation, so that's like these people getting their methadone. It's the same thing.
It's the
exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
It is. Regardless of how you see it, they're going and getting another drug.
That's exactly
and
what it
getting
is.
A free taxi on taxpayer dollars.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
So that's why I look at it as like, well, there's interesting arguments on both sides of that, but regardless, your taxpayer money is funding this.
So then the question kind of boils back down to who makes the methadone and who's paying for it?
Pharma.
Big pharma.
And we're paying for it.
We're paying for it.
Yes. Because they created the issue.
I am 100% for government services to help people to an extent. I believe in Social Security. I believe in SSDI. I believe in WIC. I believe in food stamps. But I also believe there should be some stipulations on it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't believe in just handing out free. So I'm not against that at all. But there has to be a metric to measure if it's working or not. There needs to be a goal other than just the perpetual cycle. Like,
I know families, and I have been related to people that think like this. They don't want to get off of the services because it's doing more for them in their own eyes than actually working their butts off. And so one of my cousins, she has some kids, and she was struggling for a while. I stayed with her for a little bit, and I couldn't take it because I started to pay attention, and I asked her, I said, why are you not working a full-time job? Well, if I work a full-time job, I'll lose my benefits. So I was confused. I asked her, I said, so what you're telling me is if you make 3 times those benefits, you're more worried about losing $500 a month rather than having $1,000
right.
to spend and you losing $500 because you're spending that on your children, right? Normally. But they get so hyper fixated on receiving support, and then having that support there, it turns into a crutch, and then having that crutch turns into, well, it's a life. This is just the way we live. I don't want to work anymore.
Right.
But then you have people that are homeless, barely qualifying for support services, or on disability that worked their entire lives, and now they can't even afford a home, and they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all because of people that have abused the system.
Yeah.
And that is where it just destroys the entire populace of assistance. And that, I'm in that group. I receive disability. I fund our project using my monthly income. And, that's difficult on me, but someone's got to do it. Someone has to. Struggle or not, someone's got to struggle to make sure other people survive. How do you think the Red Cross started?
Right.
She started that because she was passionate. And people hated on what she did in the beginning. People hated on what she did. And they hated on what we did. They hated on what we do now. But the more exposure we've had, people like yourself coming down there and seeing what we do, it's just a total shocking experience.
It is. I've said it a couple
Breathtaking.
times. I've said it a couple times already. It's one of the most profoundly impactful things that's ever happened to me. Because the other thing is, though, too, is that there was no delineation in anybody's color.
Nope.
Fentanyl was taking everybody.
Everyone.
Fentanyl was taken. There were all
racial
ages
divide.
out there. There was no racial divide.
No
there was
age divide.
There was also no racial divide amongst the homeless population.
Yes.
Everybody was milling around everybody, and
So-
nobody cared.
They have cliques.
Oh, I'm sure.
They have their
sure.
cliques. But when it comes to getting high, everything goes out the window, sadly. Most of the time.
One of the things that I have heard is that most of the people that are addicted to fentanyl that do want to become clean, they don't want to get sick.
Yes.
They don't want the dope sick.
And that's the part where everyone comes back and saying, well, I want to get off of the drugs, but it's too hard.
Right.
I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be in pain. And then they're talking about, well, I'll get in there and I'll start doing methadone. I'll do methadone. I'll do Suboxone. I'll do Suboxone. And then after months of doing those, they're back on drugs.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing. And then they want to chase the original high.
Right. Yeah, they're chasing the dragon.
Sorry if I keep talking in circles.
But no, dude, this is a great conversation because, so I don't think I've ever spoken about this to anybody other than people like, not on podcasts. I grew up, my biological father was a drug addict, and my biological father was a pill addict. He was extraordinarily successful and then ended up losing everything. So from the time that I was a kid, and then the man that I call my dad was my stepdad, and he was a police officer. He was an amazing person. So my biological father, I was in and out of rehabs with him, and his was barbiturates. And it's the same sort of, and Xanax and a bunch of other stuff.
Pretty much the same now.
Right. And the thing to him is like, I watched his ass detox multiple times. And it was, I remember being at his apartment one time and he was telling me, he's like, you know, I hate this. I don't want to use this. Like, I can't stand this stuff. And he was just like spinning in his own head and in his own body for like 3 days. I mean, he had to stay there with him to make sure he didn't die from the withdrawal symptoms. And it's horrible to watch.
I actually lost a neighbor to withdrawals from alcohol.
Yeah.
He was my landlord.
It's one of the only couple that you can actually die from the withdrawals. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to get sick.
Nobody does, but everybody wants to get clean at some point.
This is where I follow a lot of, have you ever heard of a dude named Jocko?
Yes.
Okay. So I follow Jocko and all these dudes, and I do the cold plunges and all that good stuff. And I think about the fact that all of those things suck, but make you better. Going through a detox, I have no experience.
It sucks.
I'm sure it's probably one of the worst things a human being can go through. But at the end of the day, it's going to make you better.
Yep. And that is where the problem lies, is at what point do we as a society say, okay, we're letting these people into detox, but why are we going to let them out tomorrow? There needs to be some type of compassionate law that respects their rights, but also is going to respect the right not to die on your own volition.
And how do you bridge the gap between the two? Because now you would have, I mean, you
would have to have people sign up for a program voluntarily. Then they cannot go anywhere for that 90 days. And that is going to be the hardest thing, because everybody will say, yes, I'm going to do that. But then an hour later, they're going to fight you to the teeth.
Or the next day. Once they arrive, and the next day, and they're detoxing.
Down and they start to go insane on all these different emotions. You have all these drugs that are still coursing through your veins. Your body doesn't know how to cope with it. And then you lose your mind on everybody around you. Everybody becomes the problem.
Yeah. Oh, it's the typical addict stuff.
Yes.
And again, we can talk about that. Like we can talk about and have compassion for basically the end stages, which is that of homelessness. Mm-hmm. But along the way, there's a lot of destruction of families.
Yes.
There's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for here? There's
codependency.
Codependency. Thank you.
And comorbidity is what this causes.
Yeah, the codependency on families ruins the families, because you're always going to have somebody that's just keeps pumping money into that person or whatever. Because
and everybody blames them.
Everybody blames them. But at the same time, the addict is ruining the family because of the codependency, and it's just a vicious cycle.
And you still want your family member.
You still want your family member.
And everyone else is looking at you like you're the dumbest person in the world for helping them out. But at the end of the day, you're looking at, that's my child.
Right.
That's my blood. Let me love my blood. Yeah, they may have robbed me. They may have robbed you. But does that mean they deserve to die alone? At what point does someone deserve to die alone on the street, regardless of what they've done to you and your family? If they were on drugs, that was not your family member. That was a lifestyle of poor decisions perpetuated by something that stops a thought process that we have as adults and as human beings with, transparency at the end of the day at heart. We want to be honest with everybody. But these people, they can't be honest, because once they do open up, what do we do as a society? We label them addicts, and they're probably going to steal from you, bro. Oh, you're letting somebody that's homeless come stay with you? Oh, they're going to rob you. You're an idiot. And it's sadly, some of these people you give a place to stay, they turn into CEOs of companies. They were somebody, or they will be somebody. It's just you have to believe in them. They may have lost hope, and they could still, I get the chills from this. I get the chills from a lot. I have a lot of emotions behind these words. Anybody can become something. You just have to see it in them. that they're no longer just a piece of shit. They're not they're not a plastic bag floating in the wind. They're a human being that's a breathing person, and they are suffering. Regardless of what they're suffering of, they're suffering. They need the help. They may want it, but they don't realize how bad they need the help.
They may not want it.
Everybody, so that's another thing. Everyone says, oh, well, they may not want help. They do want it. They'll tell you, yeah, I want help, but I'm not ready for it. But at the end of that, you realize once you loop back to the beginning, yeah, I want help was the start of that conversation. Why do they have so many stops in the way now? What caused them to say, I want help, but.
The dope sick.
Exactly. And so how do we fight that? You fight it as a collaborative campaign of citizens that want to get down there to help people and show them that there is humanity. You may be sick, you may feel alone, you may have nobody here, but there's people that'll come down here and help you get off whatever you have. And they'll help you by feeding you, giving you water, clothing, because one day you're going to be ready. Not everyone is just out there to die a drug addict. Some people just need some time. And after they see, the humankind or the humanity in humankind coming back helps restore some of these people from wanting to just stay there. And they're like, you know what? I'll go check in. Remember that lady with the infected finger? The reason we called the fire department, she didn't even want to go. And she had to go get high before she got treated. She refused. And what did I tell you? Hey, she needs to get high.
Yep.
I understand what she's got to go through. Once she's done, we're going to go and, see a doctor. And that's what we did. We ended up, it took like 27 minutes.
Yeah, it took a while. Yeah.
27 minutes from contact to walking away. And we didn't give up. Most people would be like, nah, screw that. She don't care.
Right.
She wants to go and smoke. Fuck that lady. She doesn't give a shit about her life. Why should we? She does give a shit.
You're very right.
Sadly, that's why she had to go smoke, because she knows if she's there, she's going to be hurting and withdrawing all night. How would you feel?
And they're not going to give her drugs.
No, they won't.
They're not going to give her drugs.
Not pain med. You may get Toradol.
Right, yeah.
And like people like me, I'm allergic to it.
Okay.
I receive it and I'm out cold. I cracked my head open last time.
From Toradol?
Yes.
Wow.
Dude, I got it in my ass cheek one day. I woke up admitted to the ED.
Wow. Yeah, and for those who don't know, that's just an anti-inflammatory.
It's like a super, super strong dose of ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Motrin.
Yeah, it's zero psychoactive effect or anything like that. Let's do this real quick. Do you want to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, yeah. Let's
Sorry,
take a
I'm
5-minute
like
break.
rambling.
No, to start this second part of the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and show a 7-minute interview that I took with a mother and a son who live down there, or they're homeless and live in that area of Phoenix. At the end of the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and put all of the videos, interviews, the photographs, and everything that I took from my time down there and put them at the end. So at your pleasure, you can go ahead and watch the rest of these. So I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're getting something out of this. I hope we're continuing to shed some light on what's going on and to show the good works that the Masa Project's doing. So let's go ahead and watch that video, and hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. What's your name, man?
I'm Chris.
Chris?
This is my mom, Beverly.
Hi, Beverly. I'm AJ.
I was a IV user for like
5-6 years.
no, more like a decade.
Wow. How old are you now?
42.
Okay.
I'm 42. And, I OD'd on those little blue pills.
Okay.
3 years ago.
Were you smoking them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the overdose was so bad that I woke up in the ICU.
Wow.
They said that a friend of mine had found me, and that I had a 107-degree core body temperature when found.
No, that was after the ride in the ambulance.
Yeah, but that's what they said. I had 100. But
Do your headaches?
yeah.
You want me to do yours first?
Yeah, do hers first. And and they also said to me that I was really lucky to be 20 years younger than their other heart attack customers.
So you had a heart attack because of the overdose.
as well. Yeah, and that's what kind of helped inspire me to kick the needle.
Yeah.
And it started. I didn't start out saying, "Hey, I'm gonna quit."
Okay.
I started out with, "Hey, I want to cut back."
Okay.
And after a short period of time, less than a year, it just got to the point where I didn't carry gear anymore.
Okay.
And like and I was an IV meth user for most of my career, which takes a lot of your brain from you. And I'm joyfully gotten back so much myself that I thought that would never come back.
Good.
And I'm really proud to show these off. A little grubby, but for a guy who banged for a decade, these things look fucking pretty virginal.
I see no IV track marks.
Nope.
That's phenomenal.
Nope.
That's
and
awesome.
I blowed that one out, but
Gotcha.
otherwise, I mean, for a guy who banged for more than a decade, this looks really good.
Awesome, man.
When I got out of the hospital, it's like I had more marks and stuff from him blowing our veins.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Couple sentences.
Yeah, Mom just spent a month in the hospital.
Okay.
She got a small bowel obstruction that
Didn't feel very small.
basically just caused. Yeah.
Are you okay with the photo?
Yeah, no, I am.
Please.
What led you down the path of using meth and then fentanyl and all that stuff? If you don't
Probably
mind me
being a
asking.
child of two addicts.
Yeah.
My mom and dad were two addicts, and my dad was a kind of a no-cow bum, and left my mom's to fend on her own, and she started slinging pre-crystal meth when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah. Just to pay the bills?
Yeah, and she didn't have my dad or
Right.
I had my parents.
but she didn't have somebody that on her team that she could trust. So I basically became her doorman, and I helped take care of my little brothers. And by like 12 or 13, I was.
Could you help me with this?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir?
Yes.
Could I have a water?
Absolutely, man. Go ahead and grab one. Go ahead and grab
Yes,
one. Man.
sir.
No worries. Go ahead and grab one. Sorry.
But yeah.
That's the
Thank
gentleman
you.
right there you want to talk to. This woman right here. Yes. Sorry about that.
I'm probably in the best place in my life for myself that I've been in years, and thank God, because with my mom taken ill,
This chair is so hard on me.
she
I only weigh 90 pounds.
she needed me to be at my A game.
Where are y'all trying to get to next? What's the next step? Housing?
We really need to get indoors. I myself have been homeless for 7 years straight, and Mom, she's been couch surfing because she's got disability check.
Gotcha.
It gets her. It's enough to like pay for a overly priced room in somebody else's apartment, but not enough to get a regular apartment.
Your own place.
Yeah. So we come down to Cass like religiously to like catch a meal and to because they promised my mom a voucher, but they didn't say when that was going to happen, and like it's gotten urgent now. Mom can't can't be on the streets much longer.
I've got a ileostomy.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the time being.
So are you just staying on the streets for now?
Yeah. She's got kind of got that couch, but the reason why we came over here was because the COVID test. She was told that she caught COVID while she was in the hospital.
Oh yeah.
So on top of 2 major surgeries.
And COVID.
Yeah.
And
That's not fun. I'm sorry.
Her roommates, one of them is immunocompromised.
Okay.
With long-term lung cancer, so she can't go back into that place she's paying rent for until she can, basically prove she's clear of
Yeah.
COVID.
Well, hopefully that'll come up here negative in a few minutes.
Right.
So I do want to thank, AJ for bringing me on the podcast. This has been huge, and it's going to be very impactful for not just myself, but the community. Thank you, AJ. You'll see that when you get back. All right. Let's see here.
Yeah, dude. So, where were we? Yeah, dude, get some of that dip. I took it out of the bag so we don't have to hear the crunch of the bag.
Wow.
That dip's amazing, isn't it?
That is really good. I think we just became friends.
Well, I've actually kind of always wanted. I very much like the Joe Rogan style of podcasting. And then from Joe Rogan, I started watching Cleared Hot with Andy Stumpf. And I started watching Jocko and the Black Rifle Coffee one. And then I also listened to like Dak Shepard. Have you ever listened to his with different celebrities and all that?
Yes.
Different podcasts. I like a whole bunch of different styles, but like I like the free flow, free form, but the one thing you'll never see me doing is consuming on camera. Whereas if I cracked open a bottle of whiskey and we had a little bit each, nobody would bat an eye. We could cheers. I could even discuss what type it is, but I'm not trying to offend anybody, and I'm trying to break the stigma, and I'm trying to show the fact, like let's be honest here. We just went out and medicated a little bit ago. Obviously, by the chips and salsa.
Chin chin.
But the entire thing I'm actually trying to show is that I'm not impaired. You're not impaired. We're not falling down drunk. You know what I'm saying? We're not anything like that. So I don't want to derail anything, and I want to ask you if you're okay to discuss this. Do you feel as though cannabis, and you've stated it, that you have autism, do you feel as though cannabis helps regulate whatever the symptoms of autism you have are?
I do. And honestly, while I was really, really sick, I don't remember if I told you or not, but SWC, now known as Cannabis in Tempe, they were donating $2,500 a month to help me fight cancer. I had multiple myeloma, so it's a blood protein issue. And without them, I would have been on chemo. I lost 74 pounds taking oral chemo, and they noticed it. Their bud tenders said, "Hey man, what's going on?" There was a gentleman, Jared Putterman. Good old Jared. I miss Jared. He's a great guy. He helped start that program. It was the Adoptive Family Program.
Okay.
And so in collaboration with, my medicating and them assisting me with that, because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
I could barely afford rent.
That's
I'm
a
on
hell of a lot of
disability.
money.
Yeah, it is. And the amount of medicating I was able to do, it changed everything. I used to, I have chronic nausea. It doesn't go away.
Okay.
Unless I use certain type of meds. I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't sleep. But then saying that, and the meds that are out in the market right now, these are not what we should be getting as patients. This is not medical cannabis. This is someone's pocket change. And they're lint.
And there's a couple of good growers. There's a couple that are doing it okay.
Sorry.
Good. There's a couple that are doing it okay. There's a couple that are making decent stuff.
Many of them do.
Yeah.
But they are not offering it to the public.
Or they're charging way too much.
True, and no one's going to buy that.
Right. And that's the problem, is that just like society, where I want less bad people, I'm totally ripping off Joe Rogan right now, where he says he wants less losers in life. I want those people to be elevated. I agree with him. I want those people to be elevated. We can have a better society if we
lift them up.
Yes, from the ground up.
Absolutely. Now that is something I can agree with completely.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of losers in life. A lot of people will sit there and do absolutely nothing but suck off of society and then look around and say, well, you guys are the problem still, not me. I'm getting my benefits. And then there's those people that can barely get those benefits, and we look at them and we're like, oh man, you're collecting off the government, when in reality these people need the benefits, and those people that are just sucking every penny out of them, they're ruining it for the people like myself, disabled people that are homeless, people with severe mental illnesses. That's a whole nother ball game, and that's what leads to homelessness, violence, perpetuation of addiction. And if we had more support services, which Arizona has a lot of support for mental health, however, it's not there on the street.
Arizona does have a lot of support in general for addiction and as well as special needs.
Yes.
As I've stated before, my two sons, I have three sons, two of my children have special needs, and my family absolutely benefits from state-funded programs, and absolutely we are thankful for it, because there are things that we would not be able to afford. So yeah, no, it is. I'm in 100% agreement. You know what? I'm trying to get the point across that I'm not like, no, don't help anybody out, but I'm in 100% agreement for helping those who need help. But it is the fraud, waste, and abuse that happens. And the thing is also that I've been not researching, but just reading a little bit up on, is that how many nonprofit organizations are there that say they help, that don't do shit?
Quite a few. I don't want to bring them up, but
we don't have to name
an
names,
organization that,
unless you want to.
An organization that I volunteered with, and I did all their onboarding for some time. They threw me under the bus faster than anything I've ever experienced, by me going above and beyond. And what that entails is there was a disaster. I went out with my organization, and because somebody disliked me, they sent it to the top and then turned around everything that I did. And I lost my volunteer position, and that was heartbreaking to me, because I was doing that full time, and I noticed the only people getting vacations, the only people getting retreats, were those that didn't come into the office every day. They didn't do a 9 to 5. They were at home on a computer telling us what to do. And then we would be told, oh, I'm sorry, you're not invited because you're a volunteer.
Were they paid staff?
Yes. All of the paid staff. And then I would go in there and I'm like, well, I run a nonprofit organization and we're zero paid. I paid my expenses. That's it. And I mean, like, I barely survive because I started this. And that should tell you where my mind is at. I'm just here to help others. Like, at the end of the day, I could close this down. Mentally, I would never forgive myself.
It's your baby.
Not even that. These are human lives.
No.
We are saving lives. All these people that hate on, people that are volunteering, that are going out and doing outreach or addiction intervention on the street, they think we're just out there assisting crackheads getting high. Oh, here's another rock of crack,
right,
and a free sandwich. It's not that at all. And so, like, having you come out there, that was totally, it was unexpected, because I wanted to finally get an unbiased opinion. Somebody that's not really been exposed to that, but has been exposed on a law enforcement level, because you would be extremely opinionated on one aspect, but knowing your background, the moment you came out there, it opened your mind, like just this expansion of what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like you see people that are losers, and then you see people that are homeless and struggling.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
Yes.
So when Joe Rogan mentions that there's a lot of losers in this fucking world,
Yeah.
there are. But then there are people that maybe just down and out because they don't know how to get back up. There's no ladder waiting for them. Somebody needs to physically get down there and say, hey man, we're at the top of this. Reach up and grab me. I will pull you above this little water that you're, struggling to get out of. I'll pull you under that, or I'll pull you out from under that. You may be drowning, but you don't have to be drowning alone. Put your arm out. Let us grab it. We'll take you out of that water. But you've got to stay for the long haul.
Yeah.
The long haul is what nobody has time for. Nobody has time to sit there and, detox. Nobody has time to want to detox because of the time it takes.
Right.
But I mean, when you've used drugs so long, or when you're even on alcohol so long, your detox is your savior. It's the only thing that's going to save your life is getting off of this. But it's so hard to do. You just can't pull yourself to do it. How do you explain that?
One of the things that I want to go out back and do and go with you, obviously with your permission, is to try to have a long conversation with some of them that are out there and be like, let's start from the beginning, kind of like have a roadside podcast, but just a roadside, how did we get here? And there is a gentleman, and I've sent them a message, and I don't know if we ever saw it, that runs a Instagram page called Tales from the Street Phoenix.
Yes, I've tried to reach out as well.
Okay. I don't know anything about him other than the fact that I've seen his videos. And his videos are very much exactly what I'm trying to do and tried to do when I was out there with you, is just have a very brief conversation with these people, earn their trust, have a conversation with honesty. Because again, we've talked about the fact that many, many drug addicts are not honest along the way.
And they'll tell you, hey, I don't want to be on camera. I'm wanted.
Right. That happened.
Many times.
Yeah, that happened right in front of us.
They were following us. They were shouting at you.
Yeah, I had one dude threaten me. I had the one guy, he threatened me, and one guy flat out threatened me. He said something about the Hells Angels, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't film you.
Oh, the thin white guy.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. And then there was the other one that was, the one guy was very, 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 I don't know if you saw him.
He wouldn't leave?
No, he was around the corner. I was talking to the two security officers that were there, and he was around the corner, and as he was walking away, he was saying something. He looked really pissed off at me. And I said, I can't hear you, man. Hang on. And I started walking forward. And then again, he still looked really pissed off. He wasn't yelling, but he just had that look. And I said, I'm sorry, man. I didn't hear you. And then he said, don't film me, or something along those lines. And then I found here, I said, look, man, I said, I'm not here to piss anybody off. I said, I didn't get you. He's like, okay, man, cool. Have a good day, dude. And it's like, I'm not there to, and again, I'm all about the First Amendment, but I'm also not trying to violate your integrity that you have with them down there and your rapport with them in any way, shape, or form.
That's something, like, we rarely record people individually, but we wear body cam, or, we just record for personal safety.
Yeah. Good idea.
And that's why a lot of people are like, oh, well, why don't you record your interactions? Well, I don't want to put these poor people on there. They're already going through enough, and if they don't want to be on camera, sometimes they can end up being violent.
Right.
Very violent.
This goes above and beyond being a staunch, this is my First Amendment right. No. We're talking safety here.
You're going to die because you just took a picture of me. And people don't realize that is what us as volunteers, we also deal with that.
No.
People are very mentally ill. While we're walking the streets, we have to wear body armor because you don't know who's shooting at you. And when I say shooting, that can be a knife, anything. People are shooting words off at you. You turn around and you respond to it in a way that they may not have liked. Mm-hmm. You now have no help, and you're surrounded by people that are probably this guy's friend.
You're dealing with, when you're dealing with somebody who's mentally ill, you're dealing with somebody who does not have rational thought.
Yes.
When you're dealing with somebody who's high as a kite on fentanyl, you're dealing with somebody who does not have rational thought. And I'll add to this even more. I understand that anybody at any age can get addicted, but many, many addicts get addicted in their younger lives, and they're emotionally stunted at that age.
Yes.
If they started
there.
Yes. If they started using and became addicted at whatever substance at 13 years old.
You're fighting a 13-year-old.
You're fighting a 13-year-old.
Until they're 40, 50.
Yep. You're fighting through that emotional stuntage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's so goddamn much I want to talk to you about. You're dealing with people who do not have rational thought. There's just no, you can't make them see the light.
And that's where we protect them, and so do the people around them. That's why when I tell you, we can get beat up by a group because we're just not being respectful or perceived as respectful to one of those people that are mentally ill. And so while we're out there, we actually defend those people, and we have great rapport with them. As you walked with us, and people are like, hey, yeah, Erik, or Masa Project. Everybody is now remembering Masa Project, Masa Project, Masa Project. It's just that they need to remember why and who we are, why we're there, and what we're doing. If they don't know what we're doing while we're there, all they know is our name. The homeless, they know us, but the city around them is oblivious. Like you even, your eyes were opened just by coming down there, because people, they assume what we do, but they don't actually know and live what we do. We're in a constant battle of finding help, because most of these people, they're not there tomorrow.
And you have personally experienced deaths out there on the street.
We train our volunteers when we're doing Narcan walks, either along canals or down in Central Phoenix, anywhere really. We're all over the state now, to look for bodies. There are bodies. There are people at bus stops even that are just dying because of the exposure. And the fact that, we're now dealing with fentanyl and other drugs that are literally killing groups of people at a time.
I've heard a lot about this, about celebrity type people that are going to these parties and all dying, 3 or 4 famous people. Obviously, if you're not famous, it doesn't get covered in the news, but I'm sure that this is also happening at a local level.
Yep. So, I mean, you're still finding people, in groups that are overdosing, but then as soon as you help them, come back from that overdose, they're up and at them. They want to get the fuck out of there. That's when the fight or flight kicks in, because they think they're going to jail.
And you're speaking specifically right now about
Phoenix.
Administering Narcan to somebody.
Oh yes, Narcan. Sorry about that.
Yeah, when they come out of their, however close to death they just were,
they'll beat the shit out of you. They will kick the tar out of someone that's literally there just to help them, because they don't know what they just woke up from.
Right.
These people are high out of their minds. They're on death's door. They're knocking. And you put something in their nose and they come back, and the first thing they see is some weirdo standing there in a high-vis vest or in a uniform. What are you going to do as a person? You'd be like, get the hell off of me.
And they're not even thinking rationally, though.
No.
They're in psychosis.
They're thinking you could be a demon.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're thinking.
Right.
Honest to God, I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what I would be thinking if I'm on fentanyl, waking up from a drug that just, stopped. I have an antagonist that was just, put into my system, and it's like latching on to all this that just knocked me out.
Yeah.
And I was just high. I was feeling good. And now I'm just feeling like, oh, bro, what the hell? This is like a withdrawal right now. Why am I awake? I didn't know I was dying.
Right.
And so I hate you.
I have had a conversation with a gentleman who was on the podcast, who ultimately ended up putting enough opioids into his system to kill himself, and was brought back. He was brought back, and I asked him point blank, I was like, did you feel anything? He was like, nope, I just went to sleep.
Yeah.
They have no idea.
All you know is
no idea.
You close your eyes. Next thing you know is their chest stops rising.
And yep, that's pretty much it.
They get an agonal breathing sometimes. That agonal snoring, have you ever, agonal breathing, obviously, but many people don't. And, you hear that snoring as soon as someone starts to, struggle.
Try not to be rude and chew on the phone thing, but I wanted to
make. No, you're good. But no, many people don't understand that agonal breathing means these people are dying.
They're done.
They're done.
They're done.
You can choose to assist them. You can stand by. Or you can be like most people and film the fucking thing.
They're scared.
Yeah.
They're very scared.
And that's so... like I was explaining to you, is people won't come to volunteer with us because they are afraid of what if. Well, What if my 16-year-old is out there and he sees this or this happens? Well, yeah, it's a possibility, but so is going to the mall in this day and age.
Oh, it's everywhere.
You can die. You're more likely to be shot and killed at the mall than you are volunteering with homeless people. And even that is a danger. So I grew up in a church, or in a few religions. I've read the Quran. I grew up Muslim, Christian, and Catholic. I've been through all of it. And it's because I wanted to understand religion and understand hope and what hope really means and why we have hope, why we have religion. I have a lot to say on that, but I keep it in there. And I'm happy that I studied each one because I'm able to kind of dictate and work with people on many different levels. It assisted me on a 963 fatality on the highway recently. We went out as a crisis team and the family wanted to run into the street. And it was very difficult, seeing someone's kids in this situation. They're adults and they still don't know what to do.
Right.
That's where people like us come in and say, hey, it's okay. We're here. And that's what we're doing for the homeless. But if we have, thousands of people that are just hating on what we're doing because they assume what we're doing and they're not actually understanding what it is, it's just going to stay stagnant.
The homeless population has in fact been completely dehumanized.
Yes. It's been criminalized.
It's been criminalized and it's been dehumanized. Now, you have to stop and have sympathy for the shop owner, the whatever the person is.
So,
and again, we did talk about hey, if you just have them come here at this time and then leave, it's gone. But what about the ones who do stick?
There are some that stick around. It's like
right.
feeding a sick dog.
Right.
It's gonna keep coming back to your back door.
Right.
You gave it a bowl of food. He's gonna want that bowl of food again. Now, when you stop handing them something out, that person's gonna demonize you.
Yes.
We have experience with volunteers every once in a while. We stray from giving help to volunteers. The reason being, it'll bite you in the ass.
Okay. You keep business and pleasure separate, pretty much, is what you're saying.
Well,
not necessarily pleasure, but you keep your business and the homeless separate.
Yes. So we work with clients. We receive assistance, via donations from the public. We're supported by the public. Over 70% of our income is public revenue. It's public donation. We don't ask for anything other than public support. And that is something that we're completely different. Most organizations receive 20 to 35%, 60%. We go above and beyond because I believe true humanitarians, they don't need to be paid for their work. Yes, somebody does at some point.
Right.
Yes, it makes everyone struggle when you don't pay anybody. But at the end of the day, volunteers want to be there. That's why they show up.
I think that I am totally fine with the executive director, president, CEO, whatever, of a nonprofit who, when they get to a point where they are able to start bringing in full-time staff, those full-time staff should be paid, and so should the head of it.
Yes.
When you start paying volunteers stipends and stuff like that, they begin to feel obligated and they lose that spirit. Whereas if you pay expenses, you pay for fuel, you pay for
they feel
food.
Wanted, needed.
Yes. You're 100% correct that they want to volunteer.
Yes.
And as soon as you start paying, unless you're paying them really, really good money, which that doesn't happen in the volunteer space.
That's when they start calling in sick.
Yes. But I don't now. I also do believe, again, I'm not a socialist, but I do believe that there should be some sort of a cap as to how much the president or a CEO of a nonprofit should be allowed to take home.
I honestly don't feel like there should be anybody making over, $5 million a year unless they're pulling in $500 million, and supporting the entire.
and as long if out of that 500 million they take in, as long as 450 million of it is going back into the community.
Yeah. And that's not.
Yeah.
If you look around, I can guarantee you that's not what's happening.
No, we can even call out a big one that's been called out before, which is Goodwill. They're a nonprofit status, but most of the money gets pumped up into the
for-profit.
administration. Yeah, it's for profit.
Yeah.
So, it's corruption.
It is. So that's another thing. There's all these major charities. How much do you think they're doing for smaller charities?
Oh, they're probably not doing anything.
Very little.
Now, why should they feel obligated to give, though?
They're literally hosting for-profit stores and telling everyone they're nonprofit, making all these proceeds, also hosting all these drives. But what a lot of people don't know is going off topic, but staying within the same, the March of a Million Dimes?
Okay. Is that for lupus?
It's for cancer.
Cancer, okay.
Or is it for the babies? I can't remember. One of the two. But anything like that. They're doing fundraising and they're saying, hey, our goal is $1 million. Do you think they stop at 1 million?
No.
But lawfully, all they had to raise was 1 million. That's what they dedicated.
Okay.
Every dollar over that goes back to the organization.
Interesting.
Now, what happens when they raise $30 million out of that $1 million goal?
$29 million of
Just
it's going
goes
to other
back.
into pockets.
Yeah.
And
how do you think they're able to pay such extravagant trips and vacations for all their all their staff, their paid staff? When your volunteers, your lifeblood. Like, I would be we actually do host events and expeditions and experiences for our volunteers. We go camping with them once every few months when we take out like a big volunteer trip. We stop and go to like a paleo site. We do team building, bonding exercises. I don't see many places doing that for solely volunteers.
I don't see many places doing that for their employees.
And that's difficult.
Yeah.
You should love your employees because these people are the reason you exist.
I do very much believe in what you said, that you've always been involved in public service. And what I say is, obviously I believe you, but I feel very much the same way. I didn't do anything for money. I never did anything for money. And even now, the older I get, the more involved I want to be in passion projects. The more involved I want to be in helping people. The more involved I want to, if this podcast were to be the next JRE experience and I get that $200 million, well, yeah, I'm sure I'd use a little, but I would want to pump it right back into the business to make it better for the people.
Right.
But there are people who do not think like us.
They'll pump it into their brakes and then put it into an account offshore.
Because they need to buy the next boat. They need to buy the next yacht. They need to buy the next whatever it is.
I will tell you right now, if a CEO of a nonprofit organization has the time, the money, and the space to dedicate themselves to a private jet and they're not flying their clients around or their volunteers around, that's an issue. If I own this organization and you were to say, hey, we don't have wheels for this next outreach, we need a vehicle, and I can't step up and say, take my car.
Right.
That's not who you want leading an organization.
I do agree, like we said, that if your company's making, your nonprofit's making a good amount of money, that you can be compensated well.
You should invest into a broader base.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want us to sit here and sound like, no, you should not make this much money. There are no billionaires.
But how are you going to pay for a full staff if you are also trying to buy 3 vans to get volunteers places? You're also now paying salaries and you're paying leases or you're paying for vehicles. Right. And you're also paying taxes. People don't understand as a non-exempt or as a tax exempt, we still pay taxes.
Well, especially on wages.
Yeah. And that's huge. Liability even goes up. Our insurance, we're at $2 million on our insurance with farmers right now. I mean, imagine.
That is not how much it costs you. That is how much you have coverage.
Yeah. So our coverage, it's not much. But I mean,
not in this day and age.
Yeah. That's a bear.
Yeah.
That's barely touching the surface. And sadly, you need this type of coverage because people will sue you for anything now.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to come off as a, total fascist, whatever, and saying you will own nothing and be happy, or socialist, whatever.
Everyone should be happy if you make enough money. That's my thing. Is if our organization was making $1 million a year, I would understand after all of our expenses. Yes, but you do have to take care of your staff. I do have to pay my bills. I do have to pay for my vehicle, my own transportation. How am I going to run an organization? Out of my own house, my own closet, out of my own pocket when none of the expenses are getting taken care of.
Right.
It's just going to close down and wither and die. So that's the lifeblood of what donations do. They keep you alive. And then you have people that do the footwork and help keep those donations coming in. And I feel if I can't afford to feed, my goal of 29,000 people a year, I can't afford to pay myself yet or to pay a staff. But we can cover expenses.
That's because you care.
Yes.
That's because you could say, you know what? I'm only going to feed 25,000 and whatever the leftover, or 20,000, whatever the number is, and then just pocket whatever money that you save.
Yep.
But again, a true altruistic person that just wants to give back and be good, you know, it's a very noble thing. It's also difficult for some people to completely understand. Like, what? Like, why are you doing this out of your own?
People
like,
say I'm crazy.
These people chose this fucking path, man.
Yep.
They're garbage. They chose this path. This is where they want to be. Like, this is what they're doing. Like, no, man, just forget about it. Go live your life and, you know, go get a real job. Now, the other side of the bad part of nonprofits is it's extraordinarily easy for nonprofits to scam.
Yes.
It's extraordinarily easy to just get grant
deal with
money.
that.
Yeah, to just
like, we don't get grants because like other places get accepted, and we haven't been able to get donations of food due to not claimed nonprofit organizations that may have lost their licensing, and they're still pocketing, you know, whatever they're getting, claiming to be a nonprofit. I think it was like a Hope for. There's an organization in Central Phoenix, and they use a church, and they feed like maybe 60 to 120 people a week.
okay.
But
a week.
A week.
Okay.
And we're giving out, you know, an upwards of 600 to 1,000 meals. We can't do that anymore because they are stopping our donations from coming in. They're partnering up with food organizations that have partnerships with like Olive Garden.
Okay.
We were able to receive like free soups from Olive Garden. She stopped that. The owner of this organization.
Why?
She's very jealous. And I thought they were good people until I dug in and realized that they had lost their 501c3 status. They own a cat shelter that they're funneling the money into.
Okay.
Yeah. There's other things that
Gotcha.
like these people are taking advantage of the system, and nonprofits that are actually out there not paying anybody and they're out putting boots on the street, they can't get access to food because of that. Like, the reason I'm out of pocket weekly to feed, 600 people is because organizations like that are taking advantage of the system. They're claiming to feed much more than they actually do. And then when you ask for donations from grocery stores or other organizations, they will tell you, oh, we're committed. They don't pick up every week, but we still donate to them, and we can't donate to anybody but them.
What kind of a agreement is that?
Exactly.
You're donating shit.
I would see them wanting to give you their products 2 to 4 times a week.
Right.
You have rotting meat.
You're good. Just making sure.
And like, it's just, there's products that these families could have had before it went bad.
Right.
And the excuse is, well, we can't give it to you because we're already committed to this other company that may or may not be picking it up. At what point do you as a CEO stop and say, what in the world are we doing? We are causing the suffering. We are causing hunger in Arizona within the United States because these little organizations are pretending, or even big organizations, huge organizations receive all this food and do nothing with it, or they do very little.
Why?
Not enough support. Well, there's many reasons. There's many reasons. It's all at the end of the day is they're paying somebody.
Okay.
That's
third party vendor that's supposed to go and pick it up and deliver it or whatever.
So we recently started getting donations from volunteers.
Okay.
If you could take that vendor's name out. We started receiving money from a vendor, products that are worth quite a bit.
You're good.
And they want us to, supply the trucks, supply the forklifts.
Okay.
And how does a nonprofit organization that is full of volunteers supply all of that if they're not even large enough, to be at all of their stores?
Okay.
And then when I asked for, help loading it, it turned into an issue. And now they haven't responded.
Is it the sort of thing, though, that they're thinking also liability?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like, well, I get the liability side. I understand. But that is such a bummer that they're so, afraid. But that's the society of, how business is nowadays.
Yeah.
They just want to sue you. And it's not their fault.
We've become such a litigious society as a whole that everybody's scared to do anything.
Mm-hmm. And the manager, she kept looking down and she was like, well, liability this, liability that. And I was like, I get it. But we also have to understand that these supplies need to get somewhere. You guys are getting your money back for it. We're getting zero for these
And you have
items.
business insurance.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be a problem.
exactly. And like, we're not being paid to load these items. We're literally giving them away for free.
No.
And then people are making it out like we're an issue because we asked for a little help loading.
It's
a weird world.
It is.
It's a very weird world.
It is.
And like our major sponsor, I definitely can mention them.
Okay.
Fry's Food Stores.
Nice.
I do have authorization for that. They gave us over $10,000 for 2023.
Okay.
And that was straight up for our hunger and relief, addiction relief programs. And
Cash?
Yes.
Okay.
And including, they discount anything that we need from the store.
Nice.
There was an elementary school, the Hirsch Academy. They lost their vendors that were going to donate turkeys for the turkey trot.
Okay.
And that's a turkey trot for a nonprofit elementary school of mostly refugee students. They only needed 90 turkeys.
Okay.
They asked us for 3. Albertsons gave them 0. Goose egged them. They had told them no 4 days before their event, which was a weekend. So Thursday they got the no. The event was Tuesday for these poor kids to come and get turkeys. What did we do? I called the managers of Fry's Food Stores. Immediately, they said, get down here.
Nice.
We'll count out turkeys. We'll price every single one at the lowest available possible price, which was 89 cents at the time per pound for 497 pounds of turkeys.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And we had donors. So to be completely honest, very transparent about that, we had 4 donors for that project. Quite a bit of money. One of them was a manager at Charlie's Phoenix. It's a gay bar out in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
He was immediately on board.
That's awesome.
He's been one of our major supporters and donors. His name
Charlie's?
his name is Hector.
We'll give Hector a shout out.
Yeah.
I'll tag him.
Hector, he has been awesome.
That's
Without him, honestly, not many people would know what we're doing.
really?
Yes, in the gay community especially.
Okay.
And we are so proud of him. We started giving them COVID testing supplies at that club, that bar. And through that, it just developed a really nice relationship where now anything that we need, if I were to need something, all I have to do is ask and they'll make it happen.
Nice.
I hope to get, the bar on board with that soon. We have the Arizona Gay Rodeo coming up in February.
Okay.
We need a few EMTs to work that off duty if they'll come and volunteer. That's a big need. We need
Must be licensed.
yes, they must be licensed in Arizona.
State licensure.
Yes, state licensure. And that even includes if you're a doctor, you come out to volunteer. Arizona requires their own licensing. So you have to always be aware of that. So even like my training, it doesn't qualify until I go for a state license.
Understood. You were trained. You went
Yes.
through the course. You just haven't taken the test.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And so luckily I've grown up, in the medical field. I do have certificates. I do have, diplomas and degrees in certain things, but I know my limit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know where to stop and I know where to start. But I always make sure everyone knows the basics of ALS or BLS. Because if you're working with this population, you're giving medications out, person falls out and dies next to you, and you're just standing there twiddling your thumbs, what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to get sued, or you're going to feel terrible because you didn't know how to intervene. And so that's why it's good just to have the experience. So Phoenix College gave us that opportunity. I got some training with Maricopa Ambulance.
I think that everybody should get, every single human being across the world, or across the state, should get their EMT basic.
Yes.
It
should be a requirement in college or high school.
I agree 100%. I went through the EMT course when I was in law enforcement, and I maintained my EMT for four years. Anyways, even now that it's been years, just having that super simple basic knowledge
6 weeks
is you can do faster courses. I did a semester.
16.
Yeah, so I did a semester at the community college at Chandler Gilbert Community College. So shout out to them, and the instructor is now one of my good friends. So I believe that everybody should get it just for simple, basic things, even in your own home.
Honestly, if you're a parent, you need
Agreed.
basic skills.
Agreed.
If you're a manager, you need basic skills.
There seems to be a lot of people dropping dead recently.
Literally.
So
and nobody knowing what to do.
Yeah, and there seems to be like a lot of people just having heart attacks out of nowhere. That's going on all around people. So I'm gonna keep my conspiracy theory hat off of this podcast. But
That's what happened to the owner of that business.
Of Charlie's?
No. So the family that I went out to the highway.
Oh yeah,
ended up owning a business
Okay.
across the street from my home.
While he was driving?
Yes.
Oh.
While he was driving, he pulled over, and he was out.
Okay.
He had massive heart failure. 2 days after being released from the hospital on a new medication.
Mm. We're fans of Big Pharma.
Yeah.
But everybody should have those basic requirements, and especially law enforcement.
That is
especially law
huge.
enforcement.
We've actually had the opportunity to train law enforcement and first responders in Narcan and addiction, response to the opioid, issue anyway. And it's been a very receptive and positive outcome. However, there's also a large negative side of that.
How so?
People look at you like you're crazy when you talk about the people that you work with and why you do it.
Right.
They always question your motives. And at some point you have to look at, well, what if there isn't really a weird motive behind somebody just trying to save the planet? We all want to be superheroes at some point in our lives, but volunteers actually are the heroes on the street.
I agree with that.
And that's why I'm so passionate, is because we're out there saving lives. And if we're teaching people to save lives with us, whether that's law enforcement, any type of first responders, any type of adult, any type of human being, you become a hero. Training someone how to use Narcan, you are a hero. Wanting to learn how to use Narcan, you become a hero. And Narcan itself is a sucky drug.
Is it?
Let's just get that out there.
Don't try it.
No,
Don't.
It won't do anything to you.
Don't try it.
But it's something like it. We shouldn't have to have that on us every day, every moment, every time you step out of your house. If you don't have Narcan on you, you're worried someone's going to die in front of you, and you don't have the tool. We should not have to think that way.
We should rather have it and not need it instead of need
Like
it
a
and
first
not
aid
have
kit.
it. Like knowledge.
Yeah.
Like just how do I, hold compression on this wound or a tourniquet or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
This fucking camera just died. All right. 2-minute break.
Okay.
Damn.
I don't remember.
But we were talking about EMT and
Yes.
all the civilian training and all that
Why
kind of
they
stuff.
need training for the positions.
Yes. One thing we had had a couple words about is immigration. Mm-hmm. And you do stuff down at the border.
Yes. If we get the help.
Okay.
People are afraid to go, man. Families are dying. Families, not individuals. There's groups of people dying out there because someone's not available with water.
Pull that up a little closer. The thing for me is I, like I said, talked earlier before, in my law enforcement career, I worked desert operations. I know what's happening out there. I did not work directly on the border. I worked in the hot spot of southern Pinal County, where all of the smugglers' routes come through. That's where I focused on. There's a lot of drugs.
Sorry, camera.
You're good.
Lots of drugs. Lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
Lots of bad people.
Lots of bad people in this country, in the United States, that are directly tied to the cartel, that are eating, sleeping, and breathing up in those hills and those mountains. We have busted directly south of Maricopa lookout crews.
Oh, yeah.
That are spotting for desert operations, for border patrol, for all that type of stuff.
Do you mind if I take
You're
this
good.
quick?
Go ahead. So yeah, no, there's bodies being left. So
We have to train our staff to look in the bushes while we walk that border. Not only are we walking and watching our backs, but now we have to watch the front and the sides for dead kids, dead people in general. These people are being left there. They've already paid. All that they got was what they paid for.
yes,
We dropped you off through that fence. Get the fuck out of here.
all of the human smuggling that I interdicted in the past was all vehicle based. So
It used to be completely
it
vehicle
used to be,
based.
they would walk through the desert to the interstate, hop on the interstate down at I-8 and State Route 84, and then come hauling ass up into Phoenix. And then
Naco,
obviously
Arizona.
Yes, and then now obviously south, like down in Tucson, they were coming through Benson, and they were coming through Naco, and they were coming through the western states. I'm sorry, with the eastern side of Arizona. I dealt mostly with the western side, which was coming up through that part of the state up into Pinal County. And then whether it was I had loads that they would backpack on horseback for several days at a time.
That's insane.
To get to Interstate 8 to throw the dope in the vehicles and then come up here. So, but not only that, but the humans as well. Drug smuggling and human trafficking go hand in hand.
I see more bodies like near Ajo.
Okay.
And more drugs near Naco.
So there's more people coming through the Ajo area.
Ajo, yeah. I will not work Naco.
Because of the fact
Too dangerous.
Well, the tribe is down there and won't allow Border Patrol to come onto certain parts.
That's another.
Yes. Like people don't realize that.
You got to grease some wheels for that.
Yes. And also the bombing range. So not a lot of cars are coming through. Yeah, there's not a lot of cars coming through, but people can walk down through it in some of those areas.
Oh yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
It's open. People think, "Oh, it's a bombing range, it's fenced off." There's fences here and there.
Yeah. But a cow fence.
Yeah.
Just your standard
You just hop
little
over it.
Yeah, your little barbed wire cow fence
Yep.
and you're up and over.
Or the grates.
So you have stated that you are of Chicano descent.
Yes.
So I'm sure immigration touches some part of your family.
A lot of my family is from Mexico.
Okay.
I currently have family that cannot come to the U.S. because they don't have papers to visit even. We traveled down to Mexico to help out, families that are there. We help out by the border, Sonoita. We now started doing missions out to Puerto Peñasco, which is Rocky Point for those that don't know. And it's hard getting volunteers because there's just so many things that are going wrong.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going right for people like us. We're doing the right thing. And when you're doing the right thing, good things happen. But bad things do also happen.
They do.
And that's a big factor for us is, spreading the love, the kindness, giving things out for free, helping people in that situation. But I don't want to be shot and killed because of a misconception or just because.
Yeah.
They don't want us to know their routes. So what we're having to do is like Gachado Line Camp. We ended up being told by a Border Patrol agent, yeah, there may be people, passing hourly, just set up an hour or a mile up down the road from the checkpoint. Put out some water, and people will probably stop there.
Okay.
We went above and beyond, and I saw the line camp went all the way to the border. There's a lot of ravines, riverbeds. Everything leads to the border fence, and it goes right to the road. So I told my team, I said, you know what? I bet this is where people are coming through.
Right.
There was no border agents there. None. They were only working interdiction back and forth, but none on the actual trails that are so close.
Right.
Because they're normalized to being out further, into, areas that you can put agents on the ground, and
more accessible areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
and
it.
so we're going out there, and the agents, we didn't expect to see so many people. Did you see our videos?
I did.
So we had, our first group was 58 bodies.
From where you took that video to the actual border?
Less than 50 yards.
Okay.
Less than a half, less than half a football field, maybe even less than that.
Gotcha.
I would say 20 yards
Okay.
from the actual fence, and that's not far.
No.
It's very close.
No, you can sprint in 2 seconds. 3.
Yeah, well, that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing. So people were running a football field along the fence, and then we're about 20 yards from the fence. So they just had to come down and over to us. And Border Patrol asked that we do not direct anybody. That is our stipulation. Do not provide directions unless you're pointing towards our locations. Do not provide any transportation. And if you're providing anything else, you need to notify us immediately.
Okay.
As soon as bodies pass by us, they tell us we don't have to call them. But if their agents stop by and ask, you better be honest.
Okay.
And just say, yep, bodies went that way. And that's all that you have to disclose. You don't have to say, oh, they're wearing this, they're wearing this, they're wearing this. That's not our job. Our job is humanitarian work.
You know what? The more removed from law enforcement I get and the more I get involved in situations like this, you're right. it's not your job to provide enforcement. It's the federal government's.
Yep.
And if the Mexican federal government and the United States federal government are going to fail at this, which I personally believe that they are failing at our immigration system. We spoke offline that I believe in a secure border. I believe in a path to citizenship here.
Yes.
I believe in the ability to. I'm only second
correct
generation.
way.
Yes, I'm a second generation American, only second generation. So I believe heavily in actual immigration that makes sense, that provides citizenship so that we know who these people are. And then please come here. I'm totally fine with that. I don't ever want to be pegged as anti-immigration. No, not in any way, shape, or form. I lived patrolling and doing that and seeing the ins and outs and then seeing the realities of the drug cartels that also run the human smuggling operations.
Yep.
They are hand in hand. A commodity is a commodity is a commodity, whether it's guns, drugs, whatever the case is. No, the guns go south. The people and the drugs go north.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what it is. The cartels are involved in it, and it is humanitarian issues.
If you can make $1, you're gonna make 10.
And you nailed it when you said they've already paid.
Yep.
They do not give a flying fuck. The person, it's called a coyote.
Yep.
That are leading the pack of humans through the desert do not give a flying fuck about anybody on that line.
None.
Now, my other side that I see is
Taking them and then holding them hostage is another thing.
Well, I saw that personally. I was in some of those houses where I saw torture happening.
That's disgusting.
Yes.
But it's happening while we're talking.
And the other part is, though, too, that I think about is 9 times out of 10, that coyote is going to be a young kid, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, who, guess what? They might have crossed into America. Their payment was to get these people across because their life has been threatened.
Yep.
So this is where I'm not completely non-compassionate.
So I've seen it on both ends. There's coyotes that are doing it, and you see these guys, they look rough.
Yeah.
They look rough. They've got dirt caked on them. You know, they have been exposed to the sun so long, their skin is just so dark.
Yep.
It's burnt to a crisp that there is no more burning. It's just getting darker brown and red.
Yeah.
And then you see these guys, they're just disheveled. And you ask them, you know, how long have you been doing this? Man, I'm almost done.
Yeah.
I'm almost done.
Yeah.
What's almost done, brother? And they'll tell you, like, they have to pay off 10,000, 18,000. And you're like, pesos? US dollars, homie. US dollars. You think these people are playing? Absolutely
No.
not. They are holding your family hostage on the other side of that border. And so I see coyotes that are doing it for personal gain, which are Arizonans, Americans.
Amen.
And then you see Mexican citizens that are doing this because they are forced into it. And then when they come over and they get caught and then their family is slaughtered, what do we tell their family?
Nothing.
What do we tell the state? There's nothing you can do.
Right.
What we can do is post up along that border with water and first aid and say, here you go. Good luck. Welcome. I hope you're going to be okay.
You are not encouraging crossing through the desert.
We
It's
are
not smart.
encouraging people to not die.
Yeah.
Is it smart to wait for bodies just to pile up in the desert? Absolutely not.
But it's happening every day.
It is. And then when these people, they hate on our work, they say, oh, you're the problem. If you didn't bring water to that side of the fence, they wouldn't be there. No, they were there before we brought water. We set up without telling people where we're at. And if we served over 500 bottles of water and they only took one per individual because people are that gracious and humble, that's insanity. Like, people aren't realizing you're perpetuating this. You're causing the issue. No, we're solving people from, being an issue of dead bodies.
I'm going to go political right now.
Yes. Go ahead.
What's perpetuating it is a completely porous and open border. What's perpetuating it is the lie that the cartels and the smugglers tell them. It's an easy journey. Once you get there, you're going to get everything. Now, it's also, there are things that are happening right now where they're getting $5,000 in a free room and a plane ticket and this or that, which is causing, and I'm not here to talk about that. You know what I mean? That's
Welcome
causing
to Texas.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of, but through the federal government.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like, I will stand firm on the fact that I 100% agree with a strong, secure border. But it's not going to discourage those that want to come across bad enough
So
that are going to die in the desert.
it's interesting you brought up that $5,000. It was brought to our attention recently that there are nonprofit organization owners out there here in Arizona that are taking advantage of that.
Interesting.
While we were out at the border, people were asking us, hey, will you do this? Will you do that? Fuck no, we won't. We're not illegal, or we're not going to commit a crime.
Right.
We're not even going to feed into that. If you want to commit a crime, you're going to do the time on your own time. We're not going to help you. Whatever we will do is we'll be there with water and first aid. But when it goes from, well, we're providing a service to, and now we're going to jump in and start making money off of this situation, there's an issue. And if you're telling these families, hey, you're going to get $5,000, cross that border, and we'll help you,
Yeah.
that's scary. That is scary. That is greed
Yeah.
beyond belief. And we're hearing that as we're set up along the border. People are telling us, oh, they told us that if we walk to Tucson or if we walk to Phoenix from Ajo, they'll have a home for us. And you're just like thinking like, who?
Right.
Where are these homes? We need these homes. There's no homes.
There's no homes.
There's no homes. So they're paying these people and there's nowhere to go.
Yeah. That's exactly it. So now what's being happened is now they're getting dumped off
to pay rent somewhere, and then they have nowhere to go once that $5,000 is gone. Where are you going to work?
Now, I have not seen it in person. I have only seen it in video and stuff like that. I have not. All that I ever encountered were Hispanic immigrants packed up in a vehicle trying to come to America.
Now they're Haitian,
So
Guyanese,
that's exactly where I was going with that.
Chinese. So
You've seen this.
I believe, yes.
You've seen this personally.
In our own video while we're there, we were getting, so people will throw their passports and their IDs there as they're passing that fence.
No shit.
Yep.
Are they throwing them back into
I
Mexico?
have a bunch of them in the car. They will throw them back into Mexico, or they'll just litter them all over the ground as they're running. Either they're losing them or they're just throwing them.
What do you do with them?
We actually turn them in.
Okay.
So we aren't required to do anything other than dispose of them.
Okay.
But we like to be transparent. Once we get enough, we'll turn them in at the border checkpoint that it's closest to.
Please.
Because these could be bodies that they're finding. These could be criminals that they're finding.
It could. That's where my mind always goes.
Yes.
My mind always goes to law enforcement, counterterrorism, anti-terrorism route.
Oh, yeah. So if we don't have the mindset of these could be bad people that we're helping, we're not in the right business. We have to understand that being a humanitarian, you're going to help some not so great people.
No.
You're going to help some you're going to help murderers.
Yep.
And you may not know it. You could be a murderer. I could have given you a bottle of water, a free hug, and advice on, where to go next in life. A week from now, you're on the news in one of the biggest manhunts because they located you. Bam. That experience right there, like that's what we have on the street. All these people telling us, don't record me, I'm wanted. They're serious.
They're probably wanted.
And now when we're on the border, those people, they're not looking at you saying, don't record me. It's a gun in your face and your shit's broken. Your camera's done. You're not heard of again, or you're probably not going to volunteer out there ever again.
Right.
And that's why we don't even we don't even hold up cameras while we're out there. People will tell us on their way, they'll give us their story. That's why I invite you to come out. I always say bring a camera, but be discreet about it. His families, they will give you their story. They will talk to you. But the coyotes that are with these groups, once they hear you start getting that story and seeing that you have them on camera, it's lights out. And if it's not lights out, you better remember them, because the next time you get them on camera, it may not be.
Could be a violent ending.
Yeah.
And these, just like you stated, you're going to see the same coyotes.
Every day.
You're going to see the same coyotes multiple times.
And they will wave at you.
Yep.
And they will smile. They'll remember your face, because the moment you turn around and you fuck them over, guarantee you're not coming back.
Can I tell you a real quick story?
Shoot.
I'm doing my thing. I'm in law enforcement. I'm down on I-10. I'm doing the interdiction thing. There was one officer that worked nights and 2 officers that worked days that were staying at I-10 and Riggs, popping a bunch of human smuggling loads and a bunch of trafficking loads. That interrupts the drug cartel's money.
They're going to kill you.
So one morning, it's about, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm about to head home. I said, I'll make one more traffic stop. And that's what I focused on. I focused on the interdiction stuff, not just traffic stops because somebody was speeding, but because I was looking for drugs, humans, guns, money. I make a traffic stop and I'm done with my stop, writing a warning. The person drives away. A car pulls in front of me and the dude gets out of the car and he's got his hands up and he goes like this. And then he pulls out his Phoenix PD. He was a detective. He pulled out his Phoenix PD badge and he's got a thing in his hands, like a folder. And he starts talking to me for a minute. He goes, hey, I'm with the Phoenix PD. I forget what unit it was years ago. And he goes, we're following dope drug runners that are doing active counter surveillance on 3 officers. One of them works nights, 2 of them works days. He throws down a fucking photo of me on a traffic stop.
Yikes.
The cartels were driving by and taking surveillance.
Yeah, they will take photos of you.
And we're doing taking photos.
They'll follow you.
Yeah. And then the other person. So yeah, he was doing it during the daytime with another officer, and then I was the only one at nights. But they do counter surveillance.
Yep,
it is a huge, expansive network.
And that's another thing is like that's why when I told you working with law enforcement has been a challenge. It's not the law enforcement that's the challenge; it's the public.
Interesting.
The perception of either you're pro law enforcement or not is a very fine line.
Agreed.
And when we're doing stuff to support law enforcement, like fallen officers. When they're shot in the line of duty, we raise money for them right away. We're one of the first organizations to call for those direct lines to supervisors of those officers, and we want to find out, hey, how can we help? Can we raise money? Can we donate to them? Can we donate products? Do they have kids? What do they need? Food? Water? Yeah, anything. Like there was a trooper recently shot, Trooper Harkin. We made sure to help raise at about $3,300 in 4 hours.
Nice.
Not many people showed up, but people donated.
And that's part of the nonprofit world. They
just
sometimes easier just write a check and say thank you.
And we're proud of those people.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Absolutely. Because sometimes that's another thing is people have a big misconception of, well, if somebody knows that I'm donating, they're going to say that I did it for some type of reason, some personal gain. And it's like, no, you could be.
Yeah.
But you could just be a good person. Fuck what they say.
Yep.
Screw what these people think about you, because at the end of the day, you that dollar you just donated, whether it's $1, 500, 5,000, $1 million, those dollars are saving lives. They're being put where it needs to go. Now, I can't say the same, about everybody.
Right.
But I know what we're doing, and I know what we could use, the money for. I know what we're using our money for, and can we do a lot more? Absolutely, if we had the funding.
Yeah.
And that's where it all kind of, ties into. As soon as you go and do something politically viewed like working the border, you either gain or you lose a lot of support.
Yeah.
And we had a double-edged sword supporting law enforcement, double-edged sword working the border. But at the end of the day, these people are couch warriors. They're keyboard warriors. And they're not out there making a difference.
Nope.
What does hating on some organization that's literally spending every cent, saving lives, they're not able to pay themselves because they're literally committing every dollar to the community, to the public, that you're bashing?
I said it to you when we were offline a little bit ago. I think about, you're not going to make everybody happy. Mm-hmm. And these are miserable people that just misery loves company. And I think about the fact of you're doing good work and you're going to get the people that support you. I know that sounds stupid.
No, it's honest.
But it's just like
reality.
I always think of, and I told you this earlier, that like you take a look at the big companies, Toyota, Coca-Cola, whatever, whatever big company, Sony, whatever the case may be, those people are not, their marketing department is not going online and looking at the negative comments and saying, Johnny 123 says that our product sucks and we should all eat a bag of dicks. They're not then coming and posting a photo on there saying, hi, Johnny 123, you don't like our new camera. blah, blah, blah.
This is Johnny.
Yeah, right. They're just focusing on the product. They're just focusing on the work. Now, I mean, in a capitalistic society, they're trying to make as much money as possible, but they're focusing on their brand. They're focusing on who they are. And there are brands that have ethics. They're focusing on the people who are going to continue to buy their product and support them.
Yes.
Fuck the haters.
I need to do better focusing on the people that support and love us. You know, being autistic and, you know, being in my position, it has been a challenge.
I'm sure.
And that's something that many people don't understand is when someone has autism, it is hard just to get up every day and want to be a part of society because you guys don't operate the way that I do. I can be very cut dry.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I'm a total asshole, but I'm just being me. I don't want to change myself because someone feels, you know, a certain way. It's time for people to understand that just like people that have disabilities, we are all, you know, we can all be affected equally. I could be homeless tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? I'm going to look at you, AJ, and I'm going to say, do you have $1? Do you have a bottle of water? Or I'm going to look for the Masa Project and ask for that free bottle of water, a free meal, and a free hug. What do you see being positive?
Oh, the outreach.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. The trust.
Or would you rather have the homeless building up on a street corner,
Right.
panhandling? I'd rather them know that there's a safe haven every Monday. Pull down here.
No.
That'll stop you from having panhandling for the day, or at least for a few hours.
Agreed.
That's where I kind of see that clinical type experience for people getting off of drugs, or like a compassionate, safe space to use drugs. It'll clean up the people that are getting high on the sidewalk. Yes, it drags them all into certain areas, but imagine if we had one in every area. You wouldn't be dragging people anywhere. You'd be putting these in the comfort zones of these people. It'd be out of the public view. Out of sight, out of mind is how a lot of people like things, especially the homeless population.
Agreed.
Now, out of sight, out of mind for the homeless population means death half the time.
Yeah.
These people are dead under bridges. They're dead on the side of the road. And then they're so mentally ill, a lot of them are walking on the highway and dying. Now, you've dealt with that.
Yep.
I can attest to that for sure. Myself, we're getting calls. So we don't normally, we do crisis. We're very small. But when we get a call, or we'll call out, we'll say, hey, do you need assistance? We can offer mutual aid if you don't have anybody responding within a certain time frame. They'll give us a call from dispatch, say, hey, troopers want you to come out. We'll respond. And, we let the troopers dictate what we need to do. And then they kind of just let us take over, do the crisis intervention side, get the people off the highway. That's pretty much what we're there for if it's a highway call.
Gotcha.
Get them off the highway so that we can assist them off this danger zone.
Because you're still in, it's not safe.
Yeah.
Even when the highway's shut down, it's still not safe.
Well, I mean, you got that dude that went and drove around all the traffic and stuff and tried to, through the parade.
Yeah.
People are having bad days.
Very true.
They're starting to have bad days, and the venting is now going outwards to everybody.
Let me ask you this real quick about the special needs community.
Yes.
I foresee soon a large influx of severely autistic people being dumped out onto the streets.
It's already happening.
Okay.
Most of these clients that we're seeing that are drug addicts have severe mental health issues or cognitive disabilities, and people didn't take the time to realize that. I didn't know until I was 23 that I qualified for disability.
Okay.
I would have been homeless, and I was homeless at 17. I was couch surfing.
Okay.
Because I didn't know I even qualified for assistance. There was a point in time where being, I'm gay, and my parents, they were not for it. My dad he threw me out at 16, 17, 18, 19 even. And it's just like, he still tells me to this day, like, when are you going to get a girlfriend? He doesn't accept it, but now he's kind of kosher with it.
Okay.
But he pretends I'm straight. And so, I mean, I live with it. And I just accept the fact that to each his own.
Oh.
And I can't hate my dad because he doesn't accept me for being a certain way. But that's what the society is making it into. Like, you have to hate. If you disagree, you have to hate.
Yep.
And if you don't, someone's going to hate on you. And if you're not the first to call out, you're going to be targeted.
Yep, that's exactly it. And I hate the hate. I can't stand the fact that just because, so let's be totally honest here. The way you and I started talking is we had a disagreement online.
Yes.
And we're not going to talk about what the disagreement was. That's totally irrelevant because that's not what we're talking about. But you and I both were civil to each other back and forth.
And then you saw the comments of the others.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's all hate and vitriol. We had, and again, he was like, and I think we both respected, this was before we, yeah.
On our views.
Yeah. And again, exactly. And like, in that, even since I came out on Monday, that's not a focus of our attention. It's like, okay, so now let's move on and show the good work and all that type of stuff. And we can people are supposed to have respectful disagreement. You know, we're supposed to have civil discourse and explain ourselves and all that type of stuff and not hate each other.
How do we operate as a society with no opinions? We each have our own feelings.
Yeah.
If we don't allow others to express our own opinions and feelings, we're going nowhere.
No.
But back.
Agreed. I call myself fiscally conservative, but socially democratic, you know, or socially liberal. And again, it's like, just live your lives and just be a decent human being and don't hate anybody for any reasons.
Yeah. Don't be garbage towards other people.
Right.
Don't perpetuate hate towards anybody or a group. That's another thing. Is like, there's groups that are, you know, I'm part of the LGBT community, but that post caused me to get ousted for the day. And people that we actually give money to on a weekly basis at a bar in Phoenix called Boycott, the performers.
Because you supported law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay.
The performers started going on the offensive, started calling me a homophobic straight man, and started bashing our organization. I'm sorry, Boycott. I'm sorry, Audrey, everybody. We love you guys. It's just that two individuals, you know, and like, we support the LGBT community. One of my directors, you know, she's been on some very prestigious boards, and she currently is on some other boards, and she's almost there weekly. And then for their staff, well, not really their staff. They're people that come and have events there.
Okay.
So they're not really working for the bar. So
Gotcha.
the bar has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
It's just that they're trying to perpetuate hate through the bar. They have a big following, and so what they're doing is tagging the bar, tagging us, saying, here, Masa Project, they're pieces of trash. They support law enforcement and hate the gay community. And how does one and one come together when all it was is us, in our way, understanding an action of a police officer that had no relation to the LGBT community? And then it turned into
what did that have to do with anything?
1,200 people contacting us with hate messages.
Well, again, the hate is in their heart.
Yes, but see, the crazy thing is, and I love this part, after all that hate, the people who were coming like for us, hating on us, talking all this trash, they heard our side and said, and then it was civil. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to argue with you.
They just saw a headline.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm Hispanic. I'm gay myself.
You're not a straight white male?
Yeah, I'm not a straight homophobic white man who is targeting the Latino community. Yeah, they go that far. They'll try and say anything. And it's like, I'm a Sanchez.
What's that mean?
Sanchez.
Oh, your last name.
Sanchez.
I thought she was.
I'm Hispanic.
Yeah.
Yes, Hispanic people can be racist.
Oh, anybody can be racist.
I know some of the most racially motivated Latinos in the world. And I can tell you from personal experience, everybody could be racist. It doesn't matter who you are. To me, racism is the same thing as hate. You could say, I hate all cops. Well,
do you know all cops?
Exactly. Do you know all people of an ethnicity that you just said you hated? But that's racism. So why isn't it the same way? Why isn't it classified the same? It's a hate. It's a hate crime.
It's the bias.
Yeah, it is a bias.
People want confirmation bias. And I mean, and I know like the Asian community, there's so much racism in between the Asian community. And I have friends that are Asian.
So my stepmom's from China.
Okay.
My little brother was born and raised in China. And like, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. It transcends all colors. And
Yes.
it's any time that you're using skin color as the basis of any decision, it's racism.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what the skin color is.
And see, now I'm looking at it also as demographically, the metrics on that. Like, there's so many things that people are looping in.
Yeah.
And they're classifying, and it's like, no.
No, they
You're
just want the
looking at
numbers.
it all wrong.
Yeah, they just want the numbers.
They want their numbers, not the numbers.
Yeah,
they want theirs.
It's got to fit the narrative. I didn't want to get too far off topic.
Nope, you're good.
But
special needs, yes, they're going to be out on the street. These group homes are trash.
well, they're trash. They're underfunded. I mean, and
They're scamming.
they're scamming. There are good ones though. Like let's not lump
There's
all of them
plenty of
in.
good ones, but there are plenty of bad ones. Like
Yes.
these addiction rehab homes, half of them that I've been to, everyone is getting high at.
Oh,
The staff,
okay.
the
That's
clients, they're all using fentanyl. They're standing out front of the facilities getting high and then going back in all slumped out. Yeah. And that's what the taxpayers are funding. So when taxpayers are saying, well, we shouldn't fund this and that, they shouldn't fund programs like that. They
Right.
should fund the good programs.
Right.
But how is the city and the state going to weed them out? They don't know.
that's part of the problem. Like we kind of discussed earlier, is the fraud.
The vetting.
Yes, there's no vetting.
Nope.
There's no vetting. Nonprofit has a really cool mission statement, applies for grant, gets grant.
So there's a lot of vetting in nonprofits.
Okay. For the grants.
Yes.
Okay.
So when it comes to corporate grants, they have certain processes for each one.
From the government?
From both.
Okay.
So the government has their own processes. You have to go through sam.gov. You have to, do extensive projects, to receive certain grants.
Okay.
But then there's grants you can just say, hey, I am a 501c3.
Yeah.
And they don't ask a question.
No.
Like, I see companies receiving more money than nonprofits organizations for their events.
Okay.
So event venues, different companies that are hosting, concerts, they're going around and getting $1 million grants or donations for their events just because someone wants to be a sponsor. Nonprofits work the same way. However, that money is actually supporting a cause.
Right.
It's not supporting someone's padded wallet.
Right.
And when we go to ask for that money, it's already been exhausted because they've donated it to these events. And then you're at the end of the day like, well, what is this event doing for the community? Like Earl Cup.
I didn't know that. Did they get the donations?
No, but like I'm saying, like they have cannabis.
Yeah.
They have all kinds of good stuff for the community. They're doing something by spreading knowledge.
Yes.
Yes, there's pros and cons about what they're doing with their events, but they are spreading knowledge. And then, you look at these other things and they're just there to make the money.
Yes.
There's no education involved. You go to an Earl Cup, everyone will tell you about their products.
Absolutely.
They'll tell you why they're in the industry. And then you go to, some other nonprofit events and you're just like, yeah.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, these guys are rolling up in BMWs, Bentleys, and then you see smaller nonprofits and we're actually frugal.
Right.
And it hurts, because you're looking at these people that are rolling in the money and they're not actually doing what you're doing.
And we've already touched on it. Like, and again, if that nonprofit is, 90% of it's returned back into the people they're helping, fantastic, and they can still afford it. That's totally fine. We're not anti-capitalism in that
Definitely
sense.
not. What I am against is that small percentage. It's a very small percentage, but there's a small percentage of people that aren't, doing it for the right reason.
We might have to call it.
Okay, no worries.
We'll finish up on this because we've been going for a while.
I don't stop. I'm like the Energizer autistic.
Yeah,
buddy.
no, I don't know what's going on. I got to figure out something with this, but there's so much to talk about. I want to have you back on.
Yeah, definitely.
1,000,000%. So I'm having technical difficulties because one of my cameras keeps dying. So I apologize to there. We're gonna end this here, and I'm gonna throw in some video and stuff like that. So let's do this. So we can improvise, adapt, and overcome. Don't move yet. All right.
It's funny. I learned that saying when I went to the Sheriff's Academy.
Nice. So let's do this real quick. Okay. Let's get that focused on you. Erik, let's do us a favor real quick. How can they get a hold of you?
All right, so all you need to do is search us at www.themasaprojectaz.org.
Masa is M-A-S-A.
Yes, sir, M-A-S-A, just like what we use in tamales.
Right.
The lifeblood of Hispanic culture was masa when I was growing up. The only reason to bring us together. Also, you can call or text 602-900-3915. That's our 24-hour line. We do ask that you leave a message, and you will get a response within 24 to 48 hours. And now that being said, anytime you're out and about on the street and you see us in a shirt, we're probably committing or providing some type of outreach.
Not committing anything.
We're committing love. So we're providing some type of outreach to the community, and we would implore you to come say hello. You know, thank a volunteer, ask about how to volunteer, how to join us. You can definitely reach out via Instagram, Facebook. I would say Facebook and Instagram are some of the hottest contact points. We have somebody that's always available, regardless of what time it is. You may get an automated response, but somebody will respond within the hour to 10 hours. That's much faster than the phone call sometimes.
Right.
And that's because we're much faster with our fingers. And everyone has Facebook. Most of our volunteers, they have access to the page, and they'll get a bing, and they can respond to it if they are comfortable and they know what to respond and how.
Gotcha.
Now, if you want to volunteer, make sure to call or text that phone number. Again, 602-900-3915. And we could use any of your information. Just shoot us your first name, your last name. Tell us, hey, I live in this area. I want to volunteer. These are my skills. Now, you don't have to have skills to volunteer. What you do have to have is a smile at some point. You don't have to start with one, but you'll leave with a smile. I guarantee you.
You can start confused.
Yes, you can start confused, but we will bring you right on track.
That's awesome.
And we're throughout the state of Arizona. Right now, we're assisting with a food bank out in Apache County.
Okay.
So St. John's, Arizona, they're operating out of Care AZ. So if you'd like to support their food bank, please donate. Please reach out to them. Care AZ is doing an amazing job out there. The health department sent us out that way. That's another thing we do is AZDHS sends us to smaller nonprofits to kind of help them kick off.
Nice.
We're really good at helping implement programs, especially for feeding, as we feed so many people, and all we have is 274 volunteers throughout the state.
Gotcha.
So we're doing something.
You are.
But yeah, if they reach out, any of our social media, we'll be happy to see them and happy to talk to anyone. Our TikTok is blowing up as well. That's something that we just started diving into. It's been awesome. We're getting our videos out there. We're on YouTube. But yeah, the biggest point of contact is probably going to be Instagram.
Okay.
And Facebook. We'll be happy to be available at any time for anybody. But yeah, we definitely need volunteers. We need donations. This year we're at a $78,000 budget, and right now we're at about 10.
Okay.
So we're still fundraising. We haven't met our budget yet, but we will. And when we meet that budget, we're going to make sure.
Do you do the calendar year or the fiscal year?
So we do a fiscal year.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I was going to say, because it's only January 10th, so that's pretty good. You've got 10,000. Yes. But anyways, okay, so you do the fiscal year.
Yes.
Sorry.
So we do a fiscal year. And that's just what's committed for the year.
Okay.
And then we're receiving weekly donations from a local vendor, and those we're able to distribute. So that's, we do something called the park and take. You get to pull up, park, take what you need, and leave.
Wow.
Free of charge. You just have to make sure to say thank you. That's all that we ask.
Where at? Can you say where at?
I can't say where at. We started with the Boys and Girls Club out in Scottsdale.
Okay.
However, we're just waiting to get more spaces that are confirmed for us to be there. Once we have the confirmations from all the other locations, we will get set up. The Boys and Girls Club, however, in Old Town Scottsdale, they are phenomenal.
Okay.
They're ready to go anytime we need help.
Awesome. Leave us with some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
If you're able to help, do it. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter why you're here, where you're from. If you see someone in need, help them. You don't know what that person's going through in life. That person can be walking home to say goodbye. And that hug or that smile might change all of that in a moment. So don't forget that. As an American, we have that ability to reach out and say hello. We are free to speak to anybody. And if you can't speak, just give out a smile. It can change someone's day. It could change someone's life. You have no idea what they're dealing with. So that's all I have to say. My word of wisdom would be continue with your random acts of kindness, regardless of who you are, what walk of life you're coming from, and the world will get better.
That's it.
Amen.
That's it. Thank you. That's it. Well, I believe very heavily in second chances. And that's...
This is my son.
Okay.
Leon. He's going to be leaving for Tokyo.
Okay. Very cool. What branch?
Marine Corps.
Okay. You know, I had a mistake that I made in my life. And if I believed that you were only as good as your worst moment in life, then I wouldn't be standing here right now.
Right.
I believe that everybody needs a second chance in
All right.
life.
So when we go down here, we just got to make sure to stay very close together.
Okay.
People know me, but they may not be very close to each other. What's up, brother? Like an orange?
You talking to me? I'll tell you later.
You'll hear some interesting things here. And you'll see some very interesting things.
Yeah.
I had 14-year-olds that came from probation.
I used to pray a lot
Yeah.
for God to stop this.
With water bottles?
Yeah.
The senseless
Yeah. No, there was a spigot.
you know, the senseless ones.
I've seen that at the beach before with the special needs.
I want an orange smile.
A lot of urine around.
Yes. You guys want to stay on the concrete, it might be helpful.
And
The really cool thing about this area is
I didn't look for the job in corrections. It kind of came to me.
Understood.
And, you know, it took me a few years. I left corrections to try to do something else out of the institutional work.
Gotcha.
And it didn't work out. And I kept ending up back there, and I was like, okay, God, this is my calling. I prayed to you to stop the senseless crime. So you put me in these jails and prisons with the ones committing them
Yeah.
we got water and
to
oranges.
minister.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's verbally or just with acts of kindness,
Yeah.
acts of mercy. And that's what I do.
That's an amazing story.
So corrections is where I'm supposed to be. To let these people know that there is a God, a forgiving God, and a loving God.
I'm a Christian, and I very much believe in everything that you just said. I don't necessarily understand why things happen the way they happen,
Right.
but I do understand that it happens, and they are people.
Right.
But I don't understand how a person gets to this place. That's the part that I just don't understand.
Some are just evil.
Yeah.
The majority are not. The unit I'm in, it's a lot of mental health.
Yeah.
So when you get a lot of mental health that's not being treated, society doesn't understand them.
That's why there's another guard over there though. If you go to Andre House, you guys will be alright.
No aim, nigga.
Stay safe, fellas.
This is something I've always wanted to do, to give back to something.
Do you know how to use the
That's
Narcan?
fortunate.
So the instructions are there on the back. Narcan's what we give people when they open.
See, it's a whole different world out here
Yeah.
when I'm not in uniform as a police officer
Yeah.
patrolling, 'cause that's what I used to do.
Yeah.
And then being out here just observing. Oh yeah. It's a very different feeling. It's a very, very different feeling. Yep. How long have you been helping with the Masa Project?
I started either early summer.
Okay. Oh, so just very recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Early summer, late spring.
Gotcha. I'll stay with you. I'll follow you. Don't let me get in your way.
So we're not going to get too far from Eric because
Yeah.
he is the familiar.
Okay.
Working in corrections. I'm still aware of my surroundings.
Oh, 100%.
So when he said, does somebody want to sit here with the stuff? Why? Why am I sitting here with stuff that I can't give out?
Right.
Other than water. You come and you announce to everyone that there's food and water.
What's your story, Carl? What brought you here?
I don't know. Trying to fit in where I can't fit in.
Are you from Arizona?
I'm from Florida.
Okay. How long you been out here?
About a year.
Yeah.
A couple of years.
And did you get you some food and some water?
I got food.
Listen, I think I got some oranges left. I know we got some water left.
I'm off for now.
All right. Good talking to you, man. Take care.
Antibiotics. You want me to call someone to come take a look at it? We don't even have anything to treat it, just to cover it. But you definitely, even if you went there, just tell them that you're not there, you can't stay because you have court. They understand. Because you definitely need antibiotics and we don't have those.
Like to take right now. I don't have bottles right now. I got a big band-aid. Just don't take them all at once, okay?
Like that would be
A drop? No. I don't have like IV stuff. You said you need a band-aid? Until I find the person that doesn't have it. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't
got everything but. There's not. That is that bad. Here's the medical clinic. I would go there. They're gonna say you need to go to the hospital because you need to be on a multi-course antibiotic and a broad spectrum because that's pretty bad. Can we get a photo of your injury? He's right behind you. We're gonna document that.
Can't beat that. How long you been out here?
Like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. Another friend of mine and I are getting an apartment together.
Yeah. That's good. Awesome.
I've been here for like.
We don't do drugs.
No.
Well, that's not true. I like to smoke some blues.
A year?
occasionally.
Yeah.
A year.
You been out here for a year?
Out here?
Yeah.
Out here?
No, just out on the streets. How long you been out?
On the streets?
Yeah.
For like 4 years.
Yeah. Where you from originally?
Right here. I was born in Maricopa County Hospital.
Okay.
I've been living here all my life.
Okay. What got you here to these circumstances?
Some bad luck.
Just while I was working, there wasn't that much work, so I just left and it's left outside in the streets.
No.
No.
I got you.
And he is very smart, but he won't do anything with it. He's gonna smack me. Just kidding. I mean, there's a lot of men down here who would smack a woman.
I'm
but
sure.
He's not one of them.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, that water is fine.
I'm gonna go join up with them.
All
It was
right,
good talking to you.
honey.
Thank you so much.
You're great.
Should we get shoes donations?
Yeah, if you can. I have another bag of shoes in the storage. I just gave out 2 bags Saturday.
I mean, like people wear their shoes all the time.
Yeah.
They can get tons of shoes.
If you can, that would be huge, especially for the elementary school kids we work with too. But for the homeless, that would be huge.
Anything else?
Food and water, clothing, tents.
Like just used clothing or is that
Yeah.
new?
Used clothing, no, just as long as it's washed, right? Everybody uses it.
Trash can. Hair products. Hair products too.
There's not a lot of pretty girls out here.
What's your name, man? What's your name, Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just doing a little documentation out here, man. Thanks for letting me shoot you. Huh? Cool.
Can I see the picture?
How long you been out? How long you been out here?
I've been out here like 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah, in Phoenix. In Phoenix, I've been here 2 years, and it's actually been like 11 months. I've been homeless.
How old are you?
22.
Okay. Where'd you come from?
I came from Los Angeles.
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for letting me take a picture.
Do you have your used ones?
I don't have any used ones right now. I pick up used ones sometimes.
See, that's
to
why
use
normally
them.
I trade them, but
I have to pick up used ones, and I put them with like hand sanitizer at the beach.
yeah, don't do that. They'll end up looking like this table with arms and abscesses.
That's gospel.
If you have abscesses and you need us to take a look at them, we can look at them, but we can't treat them out here.
I just want to show you.
Go ahead and take a seat in that chair right there, Ray, and we'll look at it. Does anybody need needles while we're here? Any needles?
Hey, I'm 2 years off.
Congrats.
Yep.
That's good to hear.
Can I get a
Don't
water?
sell them, okay, Ray?
No, I don't sell them.
All right.
Can we get a water?
Yeah, absolutely. Water is free.
Thank you, sir.
Is that where you're shooting up?
No, I don't know what this is from. My whole leg is like.
Maybe some bug bites and then you had an allergic reaction and peeled them open and then you got an infection in them?
Yeah, I think so. But on my butt, like, I have like bumps and abscesses on my butt. I don't know why I
Sounds
shut
like
up there.
because of your
Please, big water, free first aid.
Alright, what do you want us to do?
Alright, I will have one of you guys stand here and hand out a bottle of water with each bowl that's going out, and one piece of fruit. If somebody wants to do the fruit.
Do water or soup?
And then I'll do COVID testing on this side.
And then the chicken and dumplings are gonna go there?
Yeah, so the chicken and dumplings are already pre-bowled.
Okay.
She's got it all over this way.
Carrying. Come on, Aaron.
Thank you, sir. Alright, make it come back.
What, chicken and dumplings or
Let me grab a few bags for the I was gonna say we just need to start filling a couple of days.
I guess somebody wants to.
Can't do it over here, Ray. Sorry, guys. You guys gotta go.
What was that, man? What are we smoking? Well, careful, man.
He definitely got the car can.
Yep.